Welcome to another episode of Reseller Evolution. I'm Scott.
And I'm Carl.
How's it going, Carl?
Good. How are you, Scott?
I'm all right, Carl. I can't complain. A little tired today. I mean, we do this podcast real early in the morning, like 10 a.m.
I know.
You know what it is, though? I don't know what it is, but lately, I haven't been able to get to sleep earlier than like 2 in the morning.
It's not just the time change from last weekend?
Oh, no. It's well before then.
Yeah.
I don't know. The time change actually might have helped by an hour or two, and I know it's going an hour ahead, but I don't feel that urge to have that nap. You know what I mean? Till later in the day where I can kind of push it because I'm only like 4 hours away from bedtime. But as soon as bedtime's there, it's like it's almost like a second wind clicks in, where I get all stressed out and I'm laying there, and then I'm like, not stressed in like. The stress is the wrong word. I think the wheels start spinning in the brain, and I start overthinking everything. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it really isn't even. I'd say maybe 20% about relisting, but it's just everything else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just I don't know. Just it could be the most randomest thought.
It's very annoying. Yeah,
and it's very annoying. Another thing that I'm finding. And I even Googled this, so we're going to go on a little bit of a
tangent to start,
tangent, I guess. But I find that lately time has gone so friggin' fast.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's like crazy fast right now. Like, I would say last year around this time, it seemed to be about June, July, and then it kind of got normal. But I felt like it was like, wow, it's only like, it almost like was a little bit slower. Maybe because we had such a nice winter, so it didn't really feel like we had a winter. Maybe that's it. I should analyze that part, but I would say since about September, time has just like flew by.
Yeah.
So I Googled it. Is time seem faster for everyone or something? I don't know, something within those words. And there was so many comments on Reddit and different platforms about why it seems like time is flying by. But do you find that, Carl? Are you finding like time is just like flying by right now?
Well, I've been making that joke for years. Like after CERN did their experiments, they accidentally increased the time scale and sped everything up.
Well, somebody has mentioned that. Like I know CERN and I kind of understand all that stuff. I get it, but it's I don't understand it enough to like even know if that's even a possibility.
No, you know what I mean? It's a joke, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
But I heard a lot of people talk about that. Like, I think if CERN does anything, it can, like, maybe, it can maybe open up a portal to another world or something like that. Like, I'm like, that makes more sense than anything, and I'm not even going in that rabbit hole. You know what I mean?
Right.
But like I remember. Okay, now we're gonna go on CERN here, but we'll get back on track, guys. Don't worry. It is a reselling show. But wasn't there? Didn't they have like some sort of lawsuit before they could even turn the thing on back in the day, where people were afraid that it would open black holes and eventually the world would be swallowed up? And
it's not the first particle accelerator we've had, though. That's what I find funny.
Well, I like I said, I don't know, but I just know that the outcome of that lawsuit was, even though it is possible, the chances are so minute, and the reward of knowing what we could learn from it way outweighs that possibility, which is so minute. And I'm like, but there is a possibility, like, right? So, but I don't know enough about it to even comment on that. But maybe you do. You're a computer guy. Do you know anything about it?
Well, I know, like like they're hoping to, or possibility, micro black holes, but
right.
It's not like.
Well, they say
they're
micro
dangerous
black
or
holes
anything.
are
Like
created
they're
all
like
the
they
time.
only last for a trillionth of a second, sort of thing. Like I don't even know how long, and it's
Yeah.
not like they're going to grow or anything. Like I don't know enough about it to talk about it,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
I'm not. Like I said, it's not the first particle accelerator we've had. It's just that people are always scared of new things, and
Yeah.
they always go in the what ifs. Like I remember, did you ever watch the thing about the nuclear weapons? Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer.
You know what? Honestly, I'm gonna sound like an ass, but I love history. I love that kind of. But that show actually made me go to sleep. You know what I
That
mean? Like
movie, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
should put that on every night that I'd be sleeping.
yeah. There were fears then too, right? They
Yeah.
were afraid they were going to like light the atmosphere on fire or something like that. But it's like with a lot of this stuff, it's just us testing it here. A lot of this stuff already exists in space,
Yeah.
right? It's just that we're recreating it so we can. But let's go back into reselling because I'm not qualified to talk about this stuff.
Okay.
And
Well, I didn't know if you.
I'm into it, but it's
Yeah.
too my IQ. They should have like IQ levels for those documentaries because it's like your IQ must be this high to watch the show.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I don't understand it. Like, what were they talking about? They were talking about, oh, it's kind of an interesting thing about faster than light, right? You can't go faster than light. But what can go faster than light is space, right? And so
Yeah.
you can cheat it. And it was really cool, but he was bringing in all these like physics math,
Yeah.
and it's like talking like this is basic stuff. We're not even going to talk about this. I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about, dude, but it looked cool.
Well, I did watch Stranger Things and learn how to bend space and time. If you
Right,
put a dot on each end of the paper and bend the paper to touch the dots,
right. The wormhole idea. Yeah,
that was my level right there.
right,
After
right.
that, it's like you know,
Anywho, if you're listening to this for your science and physics, you've gone to the wrong place.
yeah. Well, it's fun. It's fun to talk about though. I enjoy kind of like Steph couldn't care less. Like, if I put one of those things on, it's like she either walks out of the room or I got to turn it off. But I don't mind trying to listen to it a little bit, but I'm not able to like sit there and have a conversation about it after watching it and pretend I know what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
I'll say straight up, listen, like I can kind of regurgitate a few things. I like some of the analogies or different things they use, but to be honest with you, I have no clue. Right. So I think it's just you know, it's just a whole level. It's out of this world conversation.
if I can get 1/5 of it when I'm watching, I'm pretty good. Then
Yeah.
I'll rewatch the same thing a few times to try and get a little bit more.
Yep.
You understand?
Yep. Because you fall asleep for
Yeah.
after so long, you just got to start back to where you ever.
Oh, there's a great space one where all the audience, that's the thing, is they fall asleep to his voice.
Yeah.
But it's interesting stuff, so you don't want to fall asleep. But I do use it to kind of have a nap sometimes. I'll see how long I can like listen, and then before I know it, it's like an hour later. But yeah, I love science and I love space and all
Yeah.
that stuff, but I don't pretend to understand it. But
Yeah.
you know what we do understand a little bit is reselling.
Well, every time I think I know it, I don't, Carl. So I
Oh
don't.
no, okay.
Um. Yeah. So anyway, back to reselling. How was your week, Carl? How
It's
things go
okay.
this week? How was? Because I know I went into the chats this week. I don't know. You got me kind of hooked on going in early now, but I think there was a comment about your private pick, Carl. So the audience is in limbo here. We want to know, how did the pick
Right.
go?
Well, it's okay.
What?
So the story is, so I went, like, it was great. It worked fine, right? Like we got along and all that stuff, right? No problems.
Yeah.
So I went over there, and she had everything out kind of like an estate sale. And this is my first time doing this sort of thing, so I was trying to keep in mind, making a big pile that we talked about. But you couldn't really do that. Like, it was just too much stuff, random stuff around, right?
Yeah.
And so, one of the big things she had is all these wrinkle dogs. Okay. So, she said, "Oh, are you interested in this?" And yes. And then it's like a bunch of pottery, no. And then like there were some books which I was interested in, but then she didn't want to sell them. And like she had records, but they weren't good records, right?
Yeah.
And she had all the good stuff, she said, in the basement, but she didn't want to sell that yet. Well, it's like, okay, like, it's fine. The major thing is she was, like, I thought she was really well prepared. She had like a pad of paper and she looked up the value of everything, right?
Yeah.
And was prepared. And she also used eBay asking prices for a lot of stuff.
Right.
She didn't have it like out on the table. It's just that she knew what people were asking for this stuff, right?
Can I just interject?
Yeah, yeah.
So, do you think you had too much a conversation over the phone going in, and maybe that kind of hyped her expectations and got her to go on eBay a little bit more?
Yeah. So there's lots of like lessons learned, right?
Yeah.
And I'm trying to. So the bottom line is, like, I'm not going to make a lot of money off this buy.
Okay.
Okay. I might make, if I'm not going to go into financial details, but if I spend 100, I might get my 100 back plus another like $30 or something.
Okay.
Which is not.
Well, right.
No,
it's not.
No,
it's right.
Not, no.
But it's not. In a lot of people's mind, that's not a bad buy. Right.
Nah.
It's just not a great buy.
I would never touch that because, like, if I was to buy something in the store for $10 and I'm going to get $13, like after all the fees, I'm not touching that.
Right.
Unless it's like super duper easy. Well, even then I probably wouldn't.
Yeah. Right? I was looking more like 30%.
Well, that is 30%.
That's what I'm saying. I was looking at more like 30%. If you gain 30%, that's in some people's opinion, that would be decent, right?
Yeah, I tried it 3 times my money, to be
honest.
That's 300%, right?
But if you're on eBay, you're not going to get that 30% then.
Well, that's two different things. You're talking about the fees.
I'm talking reselling in general. So if you're buying stuff and you're saying you're only going to get 30%, I'm asking to clarify that then. Right?
Well,
so is that eBay or is that out of the booth or like how
well, like you're talking about there's two different things here. Like if I spend $10 on something, right?
Right.
If I didn't get 30% like return on that $10, that would be like $3, right?
Right.
But no one's going to buy something for $10 and then net 13 off,
which isn't even a true 30%.
Like when I use the rule of 3 if I can, right? If I spend $10 on something, right?
Yeah.
I want to get $30 for it at least, right?
No. For sure, I get that. Right. But I'm just talking about like I'm asking a question, not making a statement. Like I'm saying that 30% on top of what you paid for it. Is that like basically, let's put it this way, is that after commission if you were to sell it on eBay, or is that just after? Hey, if I take this to the booth, I might get 30%. I'm just trying to figure it out because to me, 30%, if people can make 30% on what they're buying, I think they'll be happy with that. Like Craigslist Hunter pays 50%, but by the time he pays his employees and everything, I'm sure he's not even getting 30% back on his investment. He might be like 20%. You know what I mean? But I'm with you. Like you wanted 3 times your money or more. Like that's my kind of goal too. Yeah. I'm not saying listen, I'm probably over explaining this. I'm not saying like what I'm saying is some people might find that actually not too bad.
Oh really? Well, they can have it.
Because, that's not the way I do it too.
Yeah, because if I spend $10, right, and then I get $13 back,
right,
I've spent a lot of time on that item. I've shipped it. I've taken
Yeah.
pictures. I'm making nothing really, right? Because like my return on my time is pretty well zero, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but I don't sell things for $10 either online, right? So, but if you
Right.
were to buy 100 items and get that's $300 if you can put them in a box or something, that's not too bad. I'm not
Yeah, teach their own.
I'm not
Right.
arguing about it. I'm
No,
just saying some people might view that as not too bad. I'm
not
just
really.
myself. I'm in your vote. 30% is what I want to pay. I don't want to pay more than that, right? So
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So, anyways, that was just an example. Like I don't really know until I go through it. Part of the problem is it brings out. I mean notes. So yeah, so there's eBay prices she had, and I heard this a lot. I don't want to give it away. I don't want to just give it away. I don't want to just give it away.
Yeah.
And so I will talk about some of this stuff, right? Okay, so these wrinkle dogs here next to me, right? They're a low demand item.
Did you grab them? Because I don't know what you're talking about. Can you lift them up? I'll take a look at them.
They're not that great.
Okay. Oh, hang on.
So a wrinkle dog is basically a collectible dog from I think the 90s.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And she had counted them. So and she had said, well, how much they go for, right? She said, well, they go for, $20 to $30. And it's like, yeah. Some of them might go for that.
Yeah.
And a lot of them don't, right? And then so I said, well, how much do you want, like, for the bulk? And she said, well, I'm not going to go lower than $5 each. I'm definitely not going to give them away. I'm not going to give them one for $5 each, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, that's kind of my max, really. But I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want the first kind of deal just to, okay, well, let's backtrack a bit. I went through all her stuff. We went around the room and I said, okay, I'm interested in this. I'm definitely not interested in this. Like she had Corning wear and stuff like that. Like I'm not blaming her by the way. It was fine. She it's her stuff. She can do what she wants. I'm just saying my experience. And it was, we were pleasant and we talked for a long time after. So, but like I went through a lot of stuff and, a lot of it was just mediocre stuff. Like there was nothing there that got me excited. And, the thing with at the end, I said, well, how much do you want? And for me, my personality, I get overwhelmed. Right. And so I could have said, like, if we made a big pile of this stuff, how much do you want? But I don't think she would have gone for it because it'd be too confusing. Because it'd be like, here's like 50 wrinkle dogs, right?
Yeah.
And here's 10 books, and here's some like matches, and here's some like lures, and like just random crap all together, right? I don't think she would have gone for that, and some jackets and stuff, right?
Yeah.
That wouldn't have worked. And to be honest, I don't think even I could handle that at this point in my experience for buying in this way. Because it's too hard to mix and match how much I would pay for this random assortment of highly different value stuff, right?
Yeah.
So we went for the wrinkle dogs, and I said, well, she said, I want $12 each, right? And this is including wrinkle dogs that aren't good, right?
Right.
Ones that are worth more like, puppets worth like 10 to 15. And she's including this in the $12 each, right? So 12 times whatever it is. And I said, no. I said, honestly, I went through the same, like Scott came into my head and it's like, I had to pay fees and all that stuff, which is true, right? Like
100%. Yeah.
Right. And so I'm not going to pay that in a nice way. I said, I can't do that. I said, I would lose money if I did that.
Yeah.
And she said, well, I want to sell it all at once. I don't want to sell little bits. Right. So we negotiated, and I think I came up with 7 each, right? Or $7.20 or something, right? I overpaid, to be honest. So, like, some of them might be worth $20 or $30, right? But by the time you pay the fees and and everything, I'm going to make maybe $5 off of those. And those are the good ones, right? So there are ones that are naked and stuff like that have very little value, where I might get $7 back, right? Break even at most out of the booth.
Yeah.
But it's not really break even, because they're going to take up space. They're going to sit there for a long time. And the demand isn't good. I think it's like 10 to 1. Like every 10 listings, there's like one sold or something, or even less, right?
Yeah.
So, I got the experience of that. And like part of the lessons I learned is all stuff I already knew. It's not new information. It's just there's a big difference between understanding something and knowing it and doing it, and having the experience of doing it, right?
Well, you got the experience of going into someone's house and taking a look around
Yeah.
and listening to their, like I wouldn't put it as a total negative.
No, it wasn't a total negative, but
I think the whole idea of the booth is to get rid of stuff that isn't worth putting online. So if you find some that's worth putting online and you get your money back at the booth on the others, that's kind of a win. I don't know enough about them. I've never even saw a wrinkle dog before, I don't think.
They weren't super popular. I think it was like they're trying to take advantage of maybe Cabbage Patch, that kind of concept,
Okay.
And they take up a lot of room. Like they're not small, they're plushes really, and they're not small, and they can be missing bits.
Okay.
Right. So it's not even like they, I tried to pile them into different 2 piles, and I would say like 1/3 are low value stuff, 1/3 have all their stuff, and 1/3 don't. Right. So, and even the highest end wrinkle dog might be worth like $30 or $40. It's not like there's one in there worth $200.
Yeah.
There's gonna be no surprises.
Okay. All right. Nothing. No art. No old toys or anything, I guess.
Well, I said I'm interested in toys.
Yeah.
And I said like D&D and stuff like that. And I said I'd be interested in records, but these were like best hit records, rock and roll best hits, like compilations. Compilations.
Yeah.
I said I'm not interested. Like I said, honestly, I wouldn't even want these for like $1 each, because I said I don't think really. I said I'm not an expert, but I really don't think people are going around collecting compilations. They want music by certain bands, right?
Yeah.
So I left those behind, right?
Yeah.
She had some books. So okay, here's another lesson I learned, right?
Yeah.
Too much sharing, which is my Achilles heel, is I will share information with the buyer or the seller, or I should just shut up. But I can't. I find it hard not to, right? So she had a bunch of books, and some magazines, and it was about guns. Okay.
Which can be good and can be bad.
Exactly what I said.
Yeah.
I said but she wanted $20 for like 10 books. And I said, well, I'll give you 10, right? Because it's like they weren't all, some of them were just modern, like stuff you get at Chapters, table books. But some of them, there might have been a good catalog in there.
Yeah.
But I don't know, right? And I don't like not knowing when it comes to books, because there's a lot of weight. And she said, no. And I said, well, I'll give you 15, right?
Yeah.
And then she's like, no. I'm just going to keep them. I'm just going to keep them. It's like, okay, fine.
Okay.
But like, that was one thing I was actually kind of interested in, right? So I was like, okay. The other lesson too was, and you've mentioned this before, is trying get lower prices than the stuff they don't care about. So she had 3 big boxes full of matches, vintage matches, from not old, but like 70s, 80s, maybe 90s. Old enough that there's no area
code. Boxes type thing? Like, what do you mean by boxes?
Like, 8
like
by
shoebox size?
Yeah, shoebox size. Yeah, even a little bigger, slightly bigger. A lot of matches. Okay. And I didn't even open them.
Right.
I didn't even bother opening them. She said, I just collected these forever. And I said, well, how much you want? Oh, I don't know. And I said, well, I'll give you $20 for all 3 boxes in total. Right. And she went for that.
Okay.
So I got home and I went through all of them. There's a lot of generic stuff in there, but there's some, the funny ones are like the strip club ones from Montreal. And some Walt Disney ones actually have value.
Yeah.
Right. Like are worth like 1 or 2 will sell for the whole lot. The regular ones, I did initial. Anyways, so I paid $20 for that. I won't get distracted by that. And then I also made the mistake of thinking something was something else. So I got these like Winnie the Pooh ornaments, which I thought were something else, but they were just Kindle surprise ones, which were wasting my time.
Okay.
You know, I turned down a lot of stuff. She had a lot of pinwheel, clear glass, and it's like, no. And she said, "Oh, I don't want to give it away." And I said, "That's okay. I don't really want it." She had some perfume, and I said, "I just give you $5 for all the bottles." I said, "I'm not perfume's is a problem item to try and sell, especially on eBay. It's like not like you can't, but there's issues with shipping with perfume, right?"
But you might be able to sell that out of the booth. Like, I don't know perfumes, but some perfumes, I know some dealers do sell them out of the booth, especially if they're in those vintage bottles with the little squirters and different things. Like,
Yeah, it wasn't. There was some good stuff there, maybe, but honestly, I already have some I need to bring to the booth, and I didn't really want more of that. And she wanted money for it. She didn't say how much, but she said, "Oh, I want good money for that." I was like, "Okay, well, I'm not going to buy used perfume for
yeah.
good money."
And, if you got stripper perfume with some stripper matches,
Yeah.
guys may reminisce a little bit. Put that in the air, take a big whiff, and light a match. I don't know.
Wow, Jesus. I don't know how many of those. Like, I went through. There's only about 3 or 4 of those matches, unfortunately, because like
Okay.
that stuff is collectible. I know that.
I like the one you took a picture of and sent me. That's awesome.
Yeah.
The Beaver Latique or something like that.
It was perfect for the show on Sunday nights. It was like
yeah.
they called the Beaver Boutique or something.
Yeah. But it was French. It was in the
a lot of these
La Boutique or something. I don't know.
A lot of these are from Montreal.
Yeah.
I think I got a good deal off on that on the matches, but they're like the rest I put in the booth, I'll sell for like $1, 3 for $2 kind of thing,
Yeah.
And I just put them in a corner.
You could put them in like a Ziploc bag. I don't know how many you got, but it sounds like you got like probably a couple hundred anyway.
Oh, I got lots.
So you could even put like 12 in a dozen in a Ziploc bag for $10.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
yeah,
the non-good ones. Like, go through them first and cherry pick them, but then just the right, because I'm sure people will pick them up just because they're matches, so.
Exactly. Yeah, I went through and I did my best to do a very initial screening through everything.
Yeah.
And anything I thought might have value, I pulled out. But a lot of it, like racetrack stuff, that sort of thing. When I check matches online, they don't really sell that often, like the Walt Disney ones are good.
Yeah.
2 of them are in there, should pay for the entire lot. But
yeah, you might be able to like lot the stripper club ones up, especially if they're all from like Montreal or something like that. Like, on a Friday night, the guys might have done their rounds as 19, 20-year-olds, and oh man, that's nostalgic, right? But
yeah.
Or people might collect match books from strip clubs. My experience with the matches is that the really old ones actually can bring some good money.
Yeah, these, if they were from the 40s or earlier,
yeah,
but these are not that. I was hoping there might be some in there. Like I said, I didn't even bother opening the boxes. For $20 for all these 3 cute, shoebox size, and a shoebox holds a lot of matches.
Yep.
I was not worrying about it for $20. So, we went through and I bought some jackets. I paid $10 for one long jacket, like for I guess a fog jacket, and then $20 for another jacket. I'm not sure, because it's like I have 2 jackets that are going to sit in the booth. Someone has to want that, and at this time of year, no one's probably buying the winter jackets, and they're going to sit there for a while and then take up a lot of room. And I might ask 50 for one and 30 for the other. So 10 to 30 and then 20 to 50. I might ask 6,
Yeah, the problem is if good clothing comes along, you can't really worry about the seasonal, because like, at least for me anyways, because I might only be able to get the jackets, like leather jackets and stuff, at yard sales in June. You know what I mean? I might not be able to get them in season, so I'll just kind of hoard them like in a closet and then bring them out. You honestly, I usually just bring them straight out to the booth anyways because
Yeah,
I just don't want them sitting around, right?
that's
But
it. They take up a lot of room.
yeah,
So it's another one of those things taking up a lot of room with kind of not low value, but in terms of space, like that they take up, it's not a great return. So, and they could sit there for a while until someone comes along for the right size and everything, right? And actually wants a jacket from a flea market. So I'll plug them in. I'll put them on the there's already a rack there where my friend has all his sports jackets and sports stuff.
yeah,
So I'll just put it on the end, and if it doesn't go, whatever.
they'll go. Just give them some time, right? But
Yeah.
I think you'll be good.
So, you know, the thing is with all the stuff is like these wrinkle dogs take up a lot of room. They're everywhere now. So I brought some to the booth. Like there's these hand puppet versions.
Yeah,
So I'll ask like 10 or 15 and then just see if they move at all and bring them to the booth and just put them in the corner. I have lots of room in the booth still to put stuff. So,
okay,
like for me, so that was kind of it. Like I said, all the lessons learned is like I had to be more detailed oriented because it's like if I was going to handle like, okay, so for example, the wrinkle dogs, there were like 50 of them, right? But some of them are worthless. What I should have done is said, well, yeah, these ones worth here. I would pay, your $7 each. But these ones, I'm going to get like $10. It's just like, I don't want, like she said, I want to sell them all. But
yeah,
I would be like, I need to really bring down that. I would have like, when she said I'm not willing to go below 5, I should have said, well, I'll take these, but I'm not going to take all of these for 5 or more at 7 because it's just not worth it, right?
yeah,
And like things are missing. Like I get home and it's like, oh crap, this one has no clothes. This one's missing its little bone it's supposed to come with, and the value goes down by half. And before you know it,
yeah,
there's not a lot there. The other thing too is like when I got there, it's like I said, so you talked about toys. Oh, I've been to toys from the 80s and 90s. I was like, well, I want to see that. And she said, oh, I'm not ready to sell that. So, what I was thinking is happening, and I don't know, is that I said, well, let me know when you want to sell that stuff because she had D&D as well and all that stuff. But I didn't see any of that because
wow.
she's just trying to get rid of the lower value, lower end stuff for good prices, right? Which
Yeah,
I don't blame her. It's her stuff. But at the same time, I think I made the mistake. Like you said earlier, did you make a mistake of talking too much too soon or
yeah,
too long? I mean,
yeah.
and yeah, like if I was going to do it again, I would just go straight there because then
Because
they're less
because
prepared.
as soon as you start telling them what you're looking for, they're gonna start looking that up,
Yeah.
right? And it's too late once they get that in their head. Um, just say I look for a variety of stuff. The best thing to do is just come and take a look. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I could sit here and give you a list of 10 items or 100 items, but you might have it, might not have it, but that doesn't mean you're not going to have anything that I'm interested in, just because I
Yeah.
don't mention it doesn't mean you won't have it. So, but you know what? I'm going to chalk this up as a positive for you, Carl. Like you got your foot in the door,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
um, I think going forward, like you've learned lessons here that are only going to help you in the next one.
I hope so.
Yeah. So,
You
I mean,
know.
not everything is like okay. Not. I don't want to digress from yours right yet, but I had called you because I also got a last minute option to go and take a pick, and I'll talk that a little bit later. But it wasn't great either. You know what I mean?
No.
It wasn't like I was almost used and abused and thrown away wet. You know what I mean? Like I
Mm.
don't know. That's bad. But you know what I'm saying? Like once I got there, it wasn't it wasn't what I was told, and then it was what I was told, and then it was not what I was told the third time. So it just happens, right? So, but you only need one good pick, and then all of a sudden it's you got a
Yeah.
gold mine.
I just wish there was something there that got me excited.
Well, it is.
Right.
It's in the basement though. She wasn't going to bring it out.
Yeah.
Like
So,
too bad you couldn't somehow got her to do that. Like
well, she also wasted a lot of time by bringing all this stuff and displaying it like an estate sale around her living room and dining room where I wasn't interested in 75% of the stuff. I was
Yeah.
just like, no, no, no. I don't want these old plates. It was the classic, she had silverware from her mom. It's like I said, honestly, I can pick those up for $5 at the auction house.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not interested. Um, I picked up some vintage stuff, but even then, it's just like I felt pressured a little bit a couple times. I said, "Oh, this is worth this amount." And I took a very quick look, and it's like, okay, it might be. And then it's like, no, I should have left it because now, like, because I'm not detail oriented.
Yeah.
When I buy in bulk, I have to make sure I buy it enough of it and cheap enough that when there's issues with some of the items in there, that the other stuff will make up for it because I won't notice problems, right?
Yeah.
So that's actually kind of even more important for me. So it was fine. Like I said, at the end, it was all good. She said she's going to contact me first for all the other stuff. We'll see. We'll see if that happens. Yeah, I don't think, I don't regret. Don't get me clear. Don't get me wrong. It's just like a lot of money going into something that I'm not going to see back out of for a long time, and I'm gonna have to put a lot of work into it as well
Yeah.
to get it back without a good return on my time. So, and thing is, like I said, is these lessons I learned is stuff I already knew. It's just that it's very different when you're at someone's house. Like going into someone's house, a stranger's house, looking around is very different than buying things at an auction or in a
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
or anywhere really. So, anywho, that was that. So tell me your story now.
Well, okay. Well, my story was so I got a call from the antique market saying that someone was trying to get rid of some stuff. Someone had passed away, and they wanted to know if anybody was interested. So that got pushed to me.
Yeah.
I gave them a call, and the story I was given was that the person had passed away, and it's kind of held up in litigation, and they want someone to come and really appraise it. And I said, well, that's not what I do. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I said, I could come and take a look at the stuff and maybe steer you right. Because I just kind of wanted to have an idea what was in the house. And then the brother called and said, oh, no, we want you to go from the front of the door to the back of the door, go right through the house and tell us what you would offer for everything. Because we just want it all gone.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said to him, I said, so you're looking for someone to buy all this stuff at one shot, kind of like a clean out type thing. So he goes, that's what they're looking for. And I said, okay, well, that's kind of more what I do.
Yes. Sounds great.
I don't want to get into appraising stuff because I want to be the
No.
buyer,
We're not appraisers anyways.
That's not what I do.
No.
But I can assist them. I can say, okay, here, well, I'll just tell you what happened. So I get there, and there was four there was four of them, so two couples, husband wife. I'm going to estimate probably 70 to 75 is their age range, and one was a sister, one was a brother, and then they have their significant others there. So anyways, now the story was, we just want you to go right through the whole thing, but we want to know kind of an estimate of what everything here is, in your opinion, what it's worth. Now I'm like, okay, so what am I doing here? Like, am I appraising this? And I thought, well, I'm already here. Let's just go through it and see what happens. So I start going through the bedrooms, go through the hallway, and it's garbage, 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 garbage. Everything is just basically, at best, 20 decent items. The rest is yard sales or completely, just garbage. So now I'm like, how do I bring this to them? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They look like they're on like, look at this China cat. Well, dude, you can't give that away. You know what I mean? You're gonna have to pay somebody to come and take that. That's what's going through my head at the time. And but then the one China cabinet was good. So there was a nice cabinet. It was an oval one. I've gotten around 350, 400 for them in the past. Um, Actually, the last one I sold was around $400, and it was very similar to that. And then they had a couple other things. I won't get into too much. There was a Niagara Falls. It's like a dome, and when you turn it on, the inner there's an inner plastic piece with a fan on top, and the heat rises from the light bulb and it spins, makes it look like water's going over the falls. I've sold those before. They're around 350.
Wow.
And then there was some Franklin Mint fighter jets.
Right.
They
Franklin
were,
mints we have a soft spot for Franklin mint now.
yeah, yeah. These weren't made of sterling silver, though,
oh.
but they were actually very large, high end stuff, heavy metal stuff, but they were like dusty, so they're gonna have to be cleaned. Not like caked on gringe or like greasy kind of dust, just a dusting, but they were definitely covered in dust. Um, the boxes were in the garage, but they were all beat up, most of them. Some of them even had that plastic where you could see through in and see the model in there. I mean, they were empty boxes, but he had stored them. But when you look through that clear glass, like some of that or plastic, that plastic was pushed in and broken,
Mm-hmm.
so
Mm-hmm.
or crunched. So the box is kind of useless at that point. But so those can go for 65 to 150. Anything more than that is usually in a new condition, which these definitely weren't. Even I noticed the glass window that goes over the pilot. One had that broken, so I'm like, okay, if that's broken, there might be other pieces broken. So once I went through everything, I just asked them again, like, what are you planning to do with this? So they're kind of like, the basics of the story is he's passed away. There is some money that needs to be paid out, kind of like he was renting the house, and there's different things involved. So I think they're just trying to find some money to kind of cover that debt, that like that kind of stuff that could be owed. Or the other thing is, I guess maybe the owner of the property maybe takes the contents. I'm not exactly sure how that would work, but it sounded like they were just trying to get it cleared out and make a couple bucks. So I'm like, they're like everything, and this is a clean out situation. I'm like, I'll be honest with you
How much?
guys.
How much? They
I said,
asked, how much would you give
I
me?
said to him, I said, I'll be honest. I said, there's a few things in here that I'd be interested in buying, but as far
Mhm.
as just buying everything and clearing it out of here, I said, I wouldn't do it for free. And
Yeah.
they're like,
Oh no.
oh, no, right? I said, other than a couple of items, and I pointed them out, I said, which was that lamp and that, and I've sold these before, and that oval old cabinet display case. I said, there's nothing in here that I don't see all the time at yard sales. I said, there's no folk art. There's nothing. There's no big collection of anything. There's no military, anything like that here. There's nothing that has that big collector thing. And the one guy was actually kind of like, almost like, I told you so to those guys. He was
Right.
just kind of like, and he's looking at them and shaking his head like, yeah, I know, I knew this. That was my instinct. I don't know if that was for sure, but I think maybe the women and stuff. Like, I don't want to say the women because I'm not centering out women, but I think they saw more value there than what the guys were kind of just relaxed and sitting there slumped over the chairs, right? Like they weren't really thinking too highly of the situation. But anyway, and you don't know for sure. You're just reading people as you go through
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
motions, right? But not in a creepy sort of way. I'm just kind of anyway.
Getting a feel. Yeah.
You're getting a feel, right? So, so they're asking like, what about these planes? I said they're dirty. I said I gotta clean them, and that's time for me, right? What am I gonna get? $50 an airplane? I said this one's got a broken windshield, like half of it was broken.
Yeah.
And I said, so now I'm gonna have to go through everything to see if it's broken. I said, if there's a broken piece in here on a high-end model like this, it goes basically to like $10. Because
You're
a
lucky,
collector
yeah.
doesn't want stuff broken. They don't want it dirty.
Yeah.
They really want it almost mint in the box. That's how
Yeah.
you get it to a collector. I said, so they're not going to have that value there. I said, and what about the stuff in the china cabinet? And I'm like, I can't give that stuff away. It's like china dishes and all this kind of stuff. He goes, well, if you take the cabinet, you got to take everything in it. And they all started laughing, right? So I'm like, okay, well, uh, I ended up, I made a pile of about, I don't know, 20 items, but I really don't care. It wasn't anything I was excited about. And it just was one of those things. Like, I was going there. I made a phone call to my cousin. I was arranging in a barn because I thought this is going to be a house. I'm going to clean it out. It's going to be big money.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like,
What
okay,
ifs in your mind? Yeah.
yeah. So I'm like, okay, so I'm gonna cherry pick my stuff. I got an auction house I can call. Everything was getting lined up.
Yeah.
I called my buddy Ben, and I just kind of got a little bit of a, just
Heads up.
like, this was my first time I would be involved in a whole house clean out, right?
Yeah.
So I just
Yeah.
kind of talked to him about that, get some insight. And I get there and it was just wah, 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 it was just like so
Yeah.
bad. Like, I mean, like really bad. Like, it's just like, if you guys cleared out half the garbage so I could actually see what is in some of these totes, you might have a better chance. But I was just setting myself up for disappointment because every tote there was about 2 or 3 quilts, and I bring these quilts out and they're like, oh, you found those, eh? And I'm like, dude, like, I'm gonna give you $10 a piece. That's it, right? Like,
Mm.
I gotta sell them out of the booth for $40. There's like nothing here. What about the plastic tray? Like, what about the trains? They're in these little trays. They had found them and maybe lined them up. I said, I got 4 totes in my shed of these plastic trains. You know what I mean? Like,
People overvalue. Was it HO stuff?
yeah,
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 people overvalue that all the time. I find they
completely.
think it's worth a fortune.
Yeah, and I
It's like,
said, honestly,
no.
I'm really not interested in the trains
Yeah.
because as soon as they did that, I really wasn't interested, and I didn't say, oh, well, the trains are good. I'm like, dude, I don't want the trains. I got 4 totes in my shed at home, and I do have totes of those
Oh
things.
yeah, I probably have a tote over here somewhere with train
And I
stuff.
said to them, I said, I'll bring them in and they will sell, but they're a long tail item. So I'll put 10 in the booth at a time. And once they sold, I'll bring another 10. I said, but they are long, people will buy them, but I'm getting $5-10 a piece, right? It's not like a lot of money for them. Um, and they're like, oh, and so that was basically it. Like, there was no furniture. What about the furniture? Dude, what furniture? I don't even know if you'll be able to give this to the Salvation Army. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they're like, he's had these old drawers, they've painted them white. They're like maybe from the, I don't know, 80s. Like, they're not old primitive stuff. There's no big brand names by
This
any means.
wasn't a collector. This was just someone, a bachelor living their life.
He was honestly, and I hate to say this, but obviously there's no name dropping or anything because I don't even really know his name. I know who they were. But anyway, like, honestly, he was probably retired and he went around and collected stuff off the curb,
Yeah. And he
right?
wasn't picky.
Like, some of these things were okay, but he's probably had them for a long time. The Franklin Mint things, he probably invested some money in. They were really the only thing he had displayed. And they must have put them in the cabinet because they were covered in dust, but nothing else in that cabinet was dusty.
Mm.
So, like, I think he had these things out and about, and they just put them in, try to make them look like they were all collected in this case, but they didn't fit the case. They weren't like
They weren't
so
taken
there's
care of
2
if they
display
had
cabinet.
damage.
One's
Yeah.
like a china cabinet that's square, and you can't, like, I don't know. We've talked about these before. I don't want
Mm.
them. I know Doing It Wrong mentioned that some people make like hallway, I guess, like a sideboard type thing out of them and stuff. But I don't. They're just too big, bulky. I don't want them. But the other oval one was different. That was china dishes, but the big cabinet was where the airplanes were, and it didn't make sense that they were in there because there was no dust except for them. So they would have been put in there later on, right? But there's nothing in there. Like I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't have minded that lamp because I've sold them before, and I think I get 350. But and I said that to him. I said these two things, that cabinet. I said you're gonna go online and you're gonna see people asking like $600 to $1,000 for these things. I'm gonna get about 400 of the booth. The most I'm gonna offer you is $100 for that cabinet. I gotta drag it out of here and take it and put it in my booth. I said it is big and bulky, but at least I can put stuff in it until it sells. So therefore, it's not too bad. I said, but they're gonna take 30% off. By the time I pay rent and commission, I said I'm losing 30% on that. And I said I could probably get about $350. That's the last time I sold one for those lamps. I said I'm going to offer you $100 for it. Everything else, I like. There's nothing here for me, right? Like maybe a couple $100 for everything. So I started a pile on the couch, right?
Yeah.
So then they're like, well, just email us. So I guess legality wise, they have to have the offer in writing. I haven't even emailed them yet. You know what I mean? Like I'm just really not even sure if I want to
Yeah,
go.
that makes me nervous when they say there's a litigation going on.
It does, but I've dealt with it before. Just, actually, those books that I bought last time, but all it is covering their butt in that the lawyer has to approve it. That's all that's
Oh,
there.
okay.
It's not like
Yeah.
they're coming back on you. It's more of like once the estate lawyer approves it, then it's fine.
Right. Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Um, and that's all it is an approval. Like because they're dealing with the so the lawyer's the one that is up for it, the problems, right?
Yeah.
He okayed it. So he'll email them back in writing, put that in the file, whatever I email him, and everything's fine. I'm not worried about that so much. But it just to me it's just one of those things, Carl. You know, it's just sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, and I was glad to be able to go through it because you just there might have been a Maud Lewis painting in there and just say how much for the pile of paintings. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, because like sometimes like you know it's like when Harry Humstone goes through those houses. You never know. Sometimes you're just gonna find a pile of rats' nests, and sometimes you find like gold underneath a bunch of paper, right?
yeah. So if they weren't put it this way, if they weren't so much needing like all this stuff in writing and come back later. And honestly, it's my fault. I said, listen, I can make an offer on a bunch of stuff. You guys talk it over, and if you're interested, I'll come back and pick it up. So that was kind of my thing, but that was more of a way to get out of here. You know what I mean? Like it was more of
Yeah.
like so. Um, but I think if it was just a regular private pick, and I still would have walked away with a decent amount of stuff for some value. Nothing big. Like I mean 350 for that lamp, which would have went on eBay, and then you're selling 400 for the cabinet minus the 30% or 25-30%. Like that's still pretty good. Like those are good buys, but all the other stuff was just kind of like knick-knacky stuff. And but I would have been happy with it, throwing it all in the booth and stuff, right? So
Yeah.
it still wasn't that bad. It was just the setup was the issue. The way it had to be dealt with was the issue. There was actually a nice ceramic Christmas tree too
Okay.
that was there. It was probably an 18-incher, which is probably $150, $125. I could have got that. They really seemed to have no value in it, so that was good. But maybe I'll shoot him an email after here and go pick that stuff up. But there was definitely no like unlimited boxes of toy soldiers, and nothing like that. That's for sure, right? And that's once in a lifetime, Carl. Like I'm never going to get that type of pick again. Not with toy soldiers in it, anyways. You know what I
No.
mean? So
Yeah.
um,
But at least you tried, at least you went out there and
yeah.
you never
So
know, right?
with my goal of doing my first
House
like
clear.
clean out type pick,
Yeah.
this was a total letdown. But as far as just a regular private pick, it was okay. It would have been okay. Would have been worth my time. But I'll have to probably email them and yeah, maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'm talking myself into it now. I don't know. Just cherry picking, not taking everything.
God no.
Right.
Especially yeah. And you know, it would have made me nervous a bit too when they said, "Oh, we're looking for someone to give us values on this stuff."
Yeah.
And then they say, "Oh no, we really don't want that." But in the back of my mind is, yeah, you probably actually do want that. You just didn't want me to not show up.
Well, and I did say that. I said there's probably in total, if you look around here, maybe you're going to grab $3,000 worth of stuff here. You know what I mean? That's retail value. You know, that's good sellable stuff. The other stuff is just kind of like maybe in a yard sale you pick up a few $100 more. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
stuff that I would be interested or a reseller would actually want, you're probably looking at about $3,000 at most. I did leave 2 banker's lamps behind because I didn't want to dig for them in the garage, and they were just kind of there. But there was a pile of stuff in front; you'd have to go over top of it. There was a lot of tools out there in the garage, but I'm not going to dig in this garage because I already had in my mind that this isn't going to be what I wanted it to be. So I didn't want to start digging, right? And I said that. I said, he goes, "Oh, what about the tools?" And I said, "Well, I said tools are a dime a dozen. I see them all the time. Everybody's got tools. If you find some snap on, you might get some extra value out of that. But other than that, like they're just tools, right? There's lots of tools out there. Oh, did you see the air pump?" I said, "What are you going to get that? $45?" I said, "I didn't see it. There was a gun safe there that was empty, and I said you might get 200 to 500 for it. I don't know the brand on it, but some brands can bring good money." I said, "Do you even have the key? You know what I mean? Do you have the combo?" "Oh yeah, yeah, yeah." I said, "Okay, so maybe max you're looking at $500 for that." But like you're just grasping at straws. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
not like a $10,000 buy, so I could go and make 30, 40,000.
Right.
You
It's
know,
just a normal pick. And
yeah,
even
you
then,
might have okay. So instead of 3,000, you got 3,500. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah.
Okay. So
And they're under pressure. Like if it's rented, the guy's obviously not paying his rent anymore.
right,
The landlord's like, get rid of that stuff.
yeah,
Get because otherwise, I'm surprised they're well, who knows? Maybe they're trying to get some money out of their brother. Uh,
yeah. I
not
didn't get
not in a
that.
negative way, more like in a state way, right? Like
Yeah,
normal.
I didn't
But
get that feeling so much that they were. I honestly got the feeling that they just wanted to make a few bucks to cover some costs, and they didn't want to clean it out because they're in their 70s,
yeah, I don't blame, and they don't
right?
want to pay someone to do it either.
Right. So they just kind of wanted to make sure that they're not overlooking anything, and
Yeah,
they definitely there was nothing there to overlook. Um, Yeah. So, I mean, it's a different story. If I'm walking in there and those Franklin Mint planes are all brand new in the box and they just kind of piles them up, kind of like the toy soldiers, that's a whole different ballgame. But when they're covered in dust and I see one with a broken windshield, like I know is a wheel broken off, is a wing broken off, is something missing that I can't even see,
yeah.
and I'm going to get a complaint when I sell it to someone and they tell me what's missing.
And then you find something's glued on, and like
Yeah.
we don't
Yes.
know the situation, but there's a chance is like if he doesn't take care of his stuff, it's all like that,
Yeah.
right? You know what
Yep.
I mean?
Yep.
So yeah. Oh well.
But yeah, but I
What a
wasn't
story.
disappointed. I was fine with it. Like I wasn't. I was almost relieved. Like just get out of here with nothing, man. That's fine. That's a good day for
That's a
me.
win. Yeah, no more junk.
But
Yeah.
I kind of felt kind of betrayed a little bit. Like don't tell me it's a private pick and we got all this stuff, and then I get there and it's more of a, you know, I got to give you an appraisal. You know what I
Well,
mean?
that's what I was saying. Like I was afraid of when you mentioned that first. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
they actually want A, and they said, well, when you said you weren't interested in that, they went, oh no, it's not about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then when you can't even buy it while you're there,
Yeah.
you have to go back
Yeah.
with the time and all that. It's like, but
Yeah.
that doesn't mean don't do it. It just
Yeah.
means like, oh, these are not good signs.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, on the other hand, if it was like a ton of stuff in there, I would have been, you
Yeah,
know,
you never know.
I would have been a little bit more interested, and I could have made a deal, right? Like, I'll
Yeah.
clean this whole place out, sweep the floors and everything, uh, for a few grand. It didn't work out that way, so anyway, that's fine. Um, so, anyways, that's it. I mean, sales have been pretty decent. I mean, I would say in the last 24 hours it was a little slow. I got 3 items going out today. Um, Yesterday I had none, but the day before that I had, I want to say, eight, kind of 16 on Monday. Yesterday, what are we on, Wednesday? So so I had about 16, I think, go out on Monday, none yesterday, and then three today. So eBay kind of bounces up and down, right? Like there's no
Mm.
steady flow to it.
No, I haven't sold too much, but I found it hilarious as I was selling like this. I just talked about how these were bad buy, these like 3D at Nintendo 3D cases, and I sold 3
Yeah.
immediately after. It's just funny how that works, right? Still bad buy, but at least 3 of them went out the door. I was happy to see that.
Well, okay. How was your booth sales?
It was slower this week. It was fine.
Yeah.
Uh, like I said, I'm happy if I make the rent, and I made the rent plus a little bit. I'm rocking that freaking L desk because now I got like power to it.
Yeah.
Right to the front. So like someone's interested in some vintage fans, and I was able to show they were working right at the front of the booth, right next, not having to go into the back corner and try and get power. It's just like, no, there's power right here. It works. It's
nice.
Even USB, even has USB power right there too. So which is convenient for other things.
Okay.
Anyway, so I was happy with that. And there's people going through. The best, like, it wasn't really sales, but the best thing is like I was offered things to buy 3 times that day, which was nice. So I didn't end up buying any of it because one of them was like someone offered me Smurfs, but I didn't take it because I knew the person who knew them, and it was like I don't want to, really. I said you should be offering to the other person
right
first because they were my friend, and I didn't want to create an issue there.
Yeah.
And they had a close friendship, like a close relationship. So they just didn't think of it. And then, it's funny, they got a better deal off the other person too. So it's a good thing they did. What else? Someone offered me minifigures, like one of the guys from outside. And that was, I found out later, Serge actually said I buy stuff. So thank you, Serge, for setting that up. That's for future, like minifigs can be good. Like Lego minifigures. And then someone offered me something else. Oh yeah, so I sold some Hero Clicks. Not Hero, well, they're like Hero Clicks. They're like those cheap toys. So I sold like $12 full of them, right? Like just whatever. And I have a soft spot for the more nerdy people because I'm like to think I'm one of them too. And his girlfriend was totally into Lord of the Rings, like really geeked into it, and that's cool. And I know Lord of the Rings, right?
Yeah.
I'm a geek. I know Silmarillion and all that stuff. So we talked about that. Anyways, her husband or her boyfriend, he's really into these like D&D Hero Clicks, and I said, "Oh, it was kind of awkward because I literally had just put them out, like the bigger ones, right? And I wasn't asking a lot, like $4, $3 for the big ones, and I'd comped them, so that was fair for a booth. He bought all of them, and he says, "Oh, do you have any more?" Right? I had a huge box full of them.
Yeah.
Next to me, right? And I said, "Yeah, I got a ton of them," but I said I don't want to sell them yet because I have to go through them because I said I need to do my due diligence on this stuff because there are ones worth a lot of money.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't want to just like, because he's an expert too, right? I don't want him to cherry pick the best ones out of there for like $1 each.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they're worth like $10 each or whatever. So I said, I'm sorry, this is a tease, but I don't want to sell them. But you can look if you want, but I'm not going to sell them. And he looked through them and said, "Oh, I'm, this one and this one. And I had the rest, and these are common." That's fine. Like it wasn't a problem. I'm just saying, it was just a funny situation. Anyways, at the end, he says, "Oh, well," he lives in Ottawa too, and he said, "Oh, I want to sell a bunch, right?" And he said, "Well, give me a call if if you want to buy them." And it's like, honestly, not really, because even the valuable ones of these things might be worth $20,
Yeah.
$30. Like I did sell one for, for $20, but he knows his stuff. So he's probably, I don't know for sure. He's probably going to want, he's not going to want to sell that $20 thing for like a couple of bucks. Right.
Right.
So, but it was, my point being, it was more interesting to have people offering for me to buy things when I was there.
Oh.
And I really need, like, once things are like, a little more organized there, because I'm still spending a lot of time organizing while I'm there. I need to put up a little sign saying I buy stuff and get my business cards actually out on the table or something.
Yeah.
And the table's big enough that I can actually do that. Like have a little spot where I could have a sign. It's not something I want to be involved with yet, but I have so much room at the booth that I have lots of room to bring in stuff, and I have lots of room to price stuff, and I have the power, which I like, and so I'm going to blame Sales if it doesn't work, but his phone works inside with Fido, which is the same as Rogers. So I switched over to Rogers. What a pain. I was on the phone with them for over an hour, if not an hour and a half, because there was some weird thing with my account. It's a big mess. Anyways, so if it doesn't work, I blame Sales. So, but no, it's good. It was like, that was the day of the hour change.
Oh,
too.
yeah.
And I'm normally already exhausted at the end of this day. I came home and I slept for 3 hours solid.
Ooh.
Stayed up for 2 more hours and then went to bed and slept solid into the morning. Like, this booth exhausts me, right?
Wow.
Yeah. So, but it was good. I'm happy. I got a nice comfy chair there, and my friend who I'm doing the commissioning for, he was away, and he called me yesterday and he says, "Oh, I'm going to come visit you, not this weekend, but the next weekend," which I like, which is really good, because then he can sit in the booth. Half, a quarter of the stuff is his stuff anyways, right?
Yep.
And he's much more experienced at selling. Like, he's much more, I'm like, buy my shit or don't. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't care. But he's much more like, oh yeah. Anyways, which is good. So hopefully he'll be there next time, and then I can actually wander the market a little bit, because now it's busy enough I can't leave the booth. Like before, when it was just one single one, it wasn't that active. I could like wander around and talk to people.
Yeah.
But now I really can't nearly as much. It's being a little busier now the last 3 weeks too. So I'm actually pretty happy with the booth.
And there's an incentive to stay anyways, now that you got the desk and you can do work, right?
I can do work.
Yeah.
And I do work. Like, I don't, like, I can sit there and, it's not like the most productive stuff in the world, but at least I can, I was pricing stuff, IDing stuff, that stuff. So it's a good, if I'm going to be there for the 8 hours, you'll have that. Yeah, no, it's good. No complaints.
That's good. I would say the antique booth had a great weekend. I had a good weekend, but the one day, I think it was a Saturday, they did over $8,000 for the store for that day.
Oh wow!
And I would say probably a low day is around 3,500 to kind of $4,000. $6,000 is a good kind of like that's a good day. But when we do over that, like $8,000 to $10,000, that's one day.
Yeah,
like that's a good day. So they did over $8,000 on Saturday. Again, it was just some books and DVD players. I'm just trying. You talked about Lord of the Rings. It was a McFarlane multi-pack. I think there was like 5 or 6 figures in there.
Yeah.
Got $100 for that.
That's what she's looking for, is figures.
Oh, really?
She has most of them.
Well, this was new in the box too.
Yeah. So that's the stuff she was looking for. It was also, just as a side, one of the awkward things where I heard her asking the booth next to me, my friend Chris, if he had any. He said no. And then I went up to him and said, "Do you mind if I just mentioned I have something?" And he said, "Oh yeah, no problem." Like, you don't want to interrupt someone when they're selling, like, "Oh, I also have records. Go and look at my record." Like, yeah, no.
Right.
But he was like totally fine with that. But it was like, because I have all these calendars, but they weren't just in the calendars. Anyway, sorry. As an aside, it was just funny. It was just a connection there. Yeah.
Yeah. I had canister set too. They were modern, but they kind of had that like I want to say speckled, but it's it's not speckled, but anyways, it's kind of like it's like a speckled kind of what's the name of the, oh, I'm missing that term, splatterware or something like that, but it's an enamel covering, and
Okay.
it kind of, it's usually white with a blue, or in this case it was a green, but it kind of looks like somebody had just taken paint and kind of speckled, like splatted it on there. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm not
Mm-hmm.
getting the right term there. I can't remember. But I sold a canister set, and again, this was probably made in China. Like, they're modern. They're probably like 20 years old. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? They're not
Mm-hmm.
the old
Mm-hmm.
old stuff. The old stuff you can get good money for. This one I got $65 for them. A model car for 20, and everything else was under $20. But that was a really good day. Probably a 400. Well, I mean, like, two sales was 165. So let's say a $400 day in that day, and then the Sunday was pretty good. Um, it's kind of funny how you were talking about trying to take like your Nintendo kind of cases.
Yeah.
Like, it's one of those things that I'm like, okay, I'm gonna take these out because I have these little cowboy and Indians soldiers, but they're plastic. There's some Britons in there, but they're plastic, right? Like, they're not the cheap dollar store plastic ones. They're vintage. They're probably from the 50s, 60s. And I have them in bags, and I put $10 a bag. And no, I got them at the same place I got the metal toy soldiers,
Mm-hmm.
and I just separated them and bagged them. And I'm like, okay, nobody's touching these things, so I'm going to have to put them in like one big bag and just try to sell it off, right? I've already made my money back. I've still got tons of metal soldiers. So right now I'm just trying to figure out a way to clear this. And somebody came in and bought three for $10 a piece. So there's
Yeah,
$30.
just before. Yeah, yeah.
Just honestly, like, it was like crazy. And
What's funny is when you're about to drop a price and then someone comes and buys it.
yeah, no,
If you
what do I
waited like
do?
half an hour more, you would have got it cheaper. But yeah.
Yeah. And I have little plastic cannons. They're a couple inches, but they're for the same plastic
Mm-hmm.
soldiers and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I put $5 each because I figured the cannons are a little bit more rare, but they weren't moving either. But the same person would have came in and bought two of those. So books are selling. Pictures, $10 for a couple of pictures. Um, a DVD, I had the Man from Uncle, but it was a set for $40. Someone came in and bought that for
That's really good
40.
for a DVD set. Yeah.
Yeah. A lamp for 25, a pitcher for 20, a metal diecast Volkswagen car for 20. It says Combat $20. I'm not sure what the Combat was. Like,
That could be a magazine.
I'm thinking it was my little Combat magazines, but
Yeah,
I
because
have $5 a piece, so maybe they bought four.
that's
But
funny because
usually they would have put books or magazines. But anyway, it doesn't matter. It's whoever's at the cash could have typed that in differently. Like, if they're coming in and buying a lot, like
mhm.
a four of them, instead of scanning them or whatever they're doing at the time, they're just gonna bulk it all up. It's quicker.
My friend actually showed me those this last Sunday. He had bought a bunch of those combat magazines or little
Those
books.
little ones, right? They're just
Yeah,
little.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. They're like fan. Well, what would you call it? They're not like a book, but they're not a magazine either. They're kind of like
they're
in
almost like
between.
a comic.
Yeah, yeah. They're like a comic except with a thicker cover. It's kind of like the old Aziov magazines. Azar Aziov. What are they called? Anyways, keep going. Yeah. They're vintage, but they're not like the ones that he had were from UK. But
Um, so I sold a couple of horses for over $100 a piece. These are the metal soldiers. This is online.
mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna, well, hang on, for $135. There was it's the swordsmith from the I think it was from Robin Hood. But anyways, $135 on that toy soldier.
Nice.
Um, this isn't my bolo for today, but it's something worth mentioning because it could be a while before I see them again like this. But those little, I don't think I mentioned it. This March 7th, this sold. So when was the 7th? I think the last time we talked would have been like the 5th, I think. But anyway, So this one is they're Catholic charms, crosses. They're oh, I know. I talked to Adam about it, so I was telling him about it. They're made of bronze. I kept two that was made of sterling. I'm going to sell them individually because they're worth about 30. They get around 30, $35 a piece. But the other ones were just like a brass, a bronze, a copper, and it's a mixture. And I had a lot of 95 plus. I think there was 102. And some of the crosses came like crucifixes. Well, again, only a couple inches each medallion. So I think I had 102, but I put 95 plus on there just in case a couple of them weren't in the shape they were wanting, but they were definitely old, and I just bagged them up. Now I know some people sell them individually and you get 10, 15. Again, some of them can bring in some really good money if they're sterling or even gold. I did check for that, but anyways, a bag of these, let's say 100 of them, $85.
Wow.
Okay. And can you see it there, Carl?
Yeah, I'm looking at your sales.
On my main picture, I just put a ruler and I kind of equated like 50 on one side, 50 on the other, roughly, just so they get an idea how big these things are.
All right, and how many? Yeah, you get an idea. Good. That's a good picture. It's a really good picture. Like this ruler in the middle, and he has the medallions on the left and right side of the and it shows basically, the size of what you're getting, but also like it helps qualify the quantity you're getting too, because you can just see how many there is, because
they're not that big. Like they're like a couple inches. Some are like an inch. Yeah. Maybe a crucifix is a 2.5 inches type thing. But I also sold something, and I've only seen I got all those Catholic Christian pendants in one. They were all in one container, and then I'm gonna digress over to some. I got 4 antique Chinese carved mother of pearl gaming betting tokens. But
I've seen those before, actually.
Oh, you have, eh?
Yeah. They might be around here somewhere, probably in a box. Because it was the same.
For 4 of them, I got $85.
Yeah, it's really good. Like, I think it was me. Maybe it was you who showed me. Like, my memories kind of get mixed up sometimes, but I might have some run.
I found a square one, let's say a rectangle one.
Yeah, it might have been you. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've sold them separately, a couple of the odd shapes. And I think I got $35 to $45 for like a single one. These ones are round. They're not. Surprisingly, I thought I had something that was very rare, and they're not. But in there was one that I initially posted as a token because it is mother of pearl. And then I don't know how of a sudden I came across this one day, and I'm like, what it is the old spools of thread would have like a mother of pearl kind of top, and it's Victorian. And I'm like, really? I said, I'm pretty sure that's what I got listed in my eBay as a gaming token. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So I went back and I just changed the listing, and it sold almost like within 24 hours. But you can look those up to kind of mother of pearl circle thread spool top or something it's called, but it's Victorian. Anyways, bunch of toy soldiers, couple for 155, 80, like basically all around $100. Some older vintage computer magazines for 50.
I'm pretty sure I had those as a kid.
The magazines?
Yeah, or the same style at least, yeah.
Yeah. So I just bundled them up. They were, I think, 25 and 15 or something like that, or 20 and 20 or something. I don't know. I combined them. I put $50 and somebody.
They combined them and increased the price
for about 6 months. What's that?
Well, if they were for 20 and 20 and combined them for 50, you actually increased the price for the bundle.
Yeah, maybe they were like 30 and 20 or something. Yeah. I don't know what it was, but $50 I was happy with for sure.
Oh yeah, that's great. I wouldn't know that those were worth as much as that. I wouldn't dismiss them.
Yeah,
but I wouldn't say they were 50 either. So that's good.
Like they were too inexpensive to sell individually. So whatever the number was there, maybe it was 25 each. So I combined them for 25. I don't know, something like that. But they were under my threshold for selling individually. Remember back to car parts. Remember I bought those coil boxes and all that stuff?
Yeah.
So I sold the box. Now this is a lower end from the one I talked about last week with the ignition key set and everything. And so this is one without the cover on the front. Got 145 bucks for it. Super happy with that price. And just looks almost like a lunchbox in a way.
Yeah, I see 195 there. So
I took a lesser. I would have took a lesser. I think somebody was a watcher on that one, but I know it's right now it's 144.95. So it wasn't a percentage off. I probably just went right down to 144.95.
That's interesting. That's interesting because when I look in your solds, it just looks like you sold it for 195. There's no best offer or anything, so you can't tell that you took an offer on that in messages. Okay. That's interesting.
Yeah.
It's funny. You have a thing of dolphins here, John Perry.
Yeah.
I have the same thing in my booth, except mine's a shark. It's exactly the same thing, but it's
well, look it up because John Perry is what, and it's got a little like a dime shaped, kind of like his signature little pendant on it. Does it have that on your shark?
Yeah. It's the exact same thing.
Maybe it's got. I would think that the shark is probably worth more money than the dolphin.
Yeah, I looked it up. Well, if someone wants a deal, come to my booth because I'm pretty sure I have it for less than $30.
More toy soldiers. Canadian Cup 1991 Labatt Canada Cup program. So somebody would have went to that game. $30 on that. Just a little program magazine. 125, 100. Like these toy soldiers are just little nuggets of gold. Now you're going to see an World War II Essex Scottish Cat badge. I screwed up on that one.
Oh, how?
Well, because I meant to put in. How did that work? So what is it showing for you, Carl? What is it showing that I sold it for?
$94.95.
Okay. So I meant to take 30% off it. And it switched and it went for a mount. So I sold it for $30.
Oh no. Yeah. I'm terrified of that. I haven't done it yet, but I could totally see that happening.
Yeah. Which is fine. I mean, $95 is probably too much for it. I had a lot of lookers, no buyers. So, I mean, I had nothing into it. It was in a mixture of a whole bunch. Remember I said, oh, it came with the same group that I got that cat badge that the guy messaged me was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And I said that I paid $40 or $45. I think it was $40 for the whole lot because there was a Metrodome in there for $45 value.
Yeah.
So I figured if I could cover my cost with that Metrodome, everything else on that table is going to be bonus. Well, that cat badge was in there.
Awesome.
A die-cast car for $44. I don't know what you're seeing there, but I took an offer of $44 on it.
Yeah, I see 64. So
yeah, so 44. But the toy soldiers are selling well. I mean, there's just too many toy soldiers to even mention individually. The odd thing is, Carl, like the one day I had 16 items go out, 10 of them were toy soldiers, 6 of them were other things. But I'm probably listing at least 5, but let's say closer to 10 toy soldiers for every one other item. So I think that's giving more credibility to my other items. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Because I should be selling 10 to 1 if I'm listing 10 to 1.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But I'm not. I'm listing there's probably like 40% difference.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's probably like 4 to 1 instead of 10 to 1, and it should be closer to 10 to 1. So 4 to 1, it might be 3 to 1. It might even be less than 4 to 1. Like, I'm just saying, like, by the time you put the computer magazines and all the other stuff, now don't get me wrong, the toy soldiers are getting more money than a lot of the other stuff. Although that car model coil box was $150, but I don't know. I don't want to ramble on too much about it, but I'm just thinking that, does that make sense? Like I'm selling the other stuff kind of almost
Yeah,
not on par, but
I
based
don't
on
know.
what the
Yeah,
amount I'm listing, I should be selling more toy soldiers by the amount I'm listing more than the other stuff. Does that am I saying that
yeah,
right?
yeah. No, I understand what you're saying. Like you're saying, you're listing more toy soldiers, so the ratio should
Should
be a
be
lot more toy soldiers to compared to everything else.
right. And they're not like, don't get me wrong, toy soldiers are selling well, but I'm just saying the other stuff is actually selling not too badly as well. I
Yeah,
guess is what I'm saying.
yeah.
So, but but yeah. So I got three toy soldiers to go out today. One I sold for $114. So
Wow.
happy with that. I guess I have to be, right. So
Yeah, yeah.
all right, Carl. So what time is it now?
Bolo of the week brought to you by Tina Mac.
Bolo of the week.
I'm scared of like repeating one and not even realizing it. So
You
okay,
know, chances are nobody else will realize it either.
nah,
So,
that's true. They don't.
you know, as
Yeah,
long as it's so, you know, a few months in between. But you got a bolo, Carl?
yeah. So mine is slot cars.
Oh, nice.
So vintage slot cars I picked up. Um, now, like if you're getting the big box, like which they often do come, like you will find them occasionally. I have found them in like on the, in a little car lot. When it gets sneaks in there, they're easy to tell because you flip them over and they have like the contacts to make the engine go. If you see the big sets with all the track and stuff like that, track I have sold, but honestly, I just donate it back now. I can't be bothered. And often you'll find when you get those big sets, especially if you go to like a thrift store, people have taken the slot cars out of those big sets. So if you're going to get the set at the store, make sure that the cars are actually in there because that's where the value is, right? And
Yeah.
of course, the vintage ones are worth a lot more. Um,
Well,
but
I found not only like in most cases, 100%, you got to check to make sure the cars are in there because that's. But sometimes you'll find more cars in there as well.
that'd be nice.
Would you agree or?
I haven't had that happen yet,
Oh, okay.
but I'm not saying it can't happen because they're just going to dump everything in there, right?
Yeah.
But generally, I had the opposite. I look at the box, I get excited, and there's no cars in there because either the person was like us, took the cars out and then donated back on the track, or to be honest, someone stole them at the thrift store. That happens, I think, a lot too, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you have to be a little careful. The nice thing about slot cars is to test them, you just need a 9-volt. And I looked it up; it's safe for the cars. So you want to use a 9-volt though. Put it on the contacts and see if it runs. But even if they're not working, people will buy them for parts. They want the motor, or they want the plastic case on top, or they want the wheels. In fact, I've seen like cars that have been like basically butchered like a turkey and left on the wall, which is like it has nothing left. Like it had the top off, the wheels are gone. Someone's obviously taken the parts off of it and just left the carcass behind. But with slot cars, they can be worth like crazy money, right? Like hundreds of dollars if you find the right ones. I'm not
Yeah.
going to pretend I can just look. Like obviously, you want the older ones if you can, but if they're cheap enough, I would just get them, right? Especially since they can sell for parts. So there's like 5 different brands that I kind of look for. One is Aurora, Skill Extric, Strombecker, which I haven't seen, Eldon, Tyco, which I've seen a lot, and AFX, which I've seen a lot as well. And there's definitely demand for this stuff too, which is nice. And they, obviously the better condition, the better. But like usually they sell. I kind of cheated today, and like when I did my solds, I always look at used, and it offers a range. I just took the range for each one. So there's definitely ones that sell for less, and definitely a lot more. So like Aurora, Scale, those are like, and Eldon, Tyco are all like $30 to $70. AFX 50 to 110. The Strom's a little lower, 20 to 50, but there's definitely going to be some in all those categories that sell for hundreds and some that sell for 20s. But I always pick them up, if they're cheap. If they're modern ones, like obviously I might pass those up, or if they're asking too much for the entire set. Like I said, I have sold the tracks, but I wouldn't do it again because I had to set it up. I had to test the tracks. It's just like, there wasn't really a big demand for tracks. It's the cars that people really want.
Now, do you test the cars or just say untested, or do you say
I do test them? Yeah, like I said, I use a 9-volt.
Okay.
So I put them on the 2 contacts and you see them run. And,
okay. I've actually kept the track where you plug in.
Yeah.
And you have the trigger. Because you don't need the whole track, you just need that one panel.
Mm-hmm.
And I've tested them on there.
You could do that too.
Yeah, probably the 9-volt's easier.
Yeah, I just double checked before the show, and it's fine to use a 9-volt on them.
Yeah,
like I wouldn't have it sit there forever. You just want to make sure it goes.
Yeah.
Sometimes they have lights that light up at the front too, right? But yeah, I've told them I haven't had an issue, and like I said, even for parts, you could just like lot them all out if they're like if they don't work, because sometimes they don't work. I've definitely had those. I definitely had ones missing tires and stuff like that. But
I just stepped away just briefly here because I just bought a lot with tons of tires, and there was a bag of tires that I'm pretty sure are for slot cars.
Oh, neat. Yeah.
Just tires.
Yeah.
Right? In a little paper bag. That was in that lot. But in the lot of tires was also ones off Nylons and, the older trucks and stuff. But so I bought it just because somebody might have one of those vehicles they need a tire or two for. But in there was a bag of tires, and I'm pretty sure they're for slot cars. If I find it, I'm not going to be able to obviously show it on the show, but I can show you, right?
Yeah.
So, but it's around here somewhere. But no, slot cars are great. I love slot cars. They are easy to test, like even easier now with the 9-volt idea. And you can get some really neat ones. Like you can get ones from, like I've sold before, Fast and Furious. I sold the what's that? Oh, really good show, John Wick. The John Wick car, the Mustang. Some Mario ones and stuff like that.
Yeah, I've seen Mario too. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a variety of things out there for sure.
And like it says, once in a while they'll sneak in just to like the Hot Wheels like baggy. I don't really look that often, but maybe I should, because I just flip them over. They're obviously, when it's not obvious from the top, but underneath it's pretty obvious when they're one of these slot cars.
So I was at a yard sale and I paid $20 for a box, and there was like the track was all mixed up. Like, but in there was about 20, 24 slot cars.
Oh my God.
But a lot of them weren't big money. You know what I mean? Like they're the lower end ones.
Yeah, that's gonna happen.
A couple good ones in there, but I sold the lower ones out of the booth for $10 a piece.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So when someone's going to buy one, they're going to come mostly buy them all.
And the other thing is there's a demand for them. Like, I think slot cars are one of those things where the collectors can go nuts for if they really want something.
The one guy, so I think I had $15 or $20 a piece. And the one guy was so excited. He goes, if I bought them all, what can you do? And all. I was at the booth the one day. So I give it to him for $10 a piece across the board. There had to have been at least 10 of them. You know what I mean? And he was so thankful and happy. And these are the lower end ones, because the better ones I put on eBay. But but it's like you said, the people that want them get all excited, right? So
like I just had the comps up here, and there's ones that sell for $100, $150 easy.
Yeah,
I just didn't like, for the range, I don't really care that much because it's good enough, right? Yeah. Like if you're spending $5 on one, or even $10, I guess. Like if it's an older one, like you're gonna be okay.
do you find like a size, like what size would you say is the bigger ones are worth more, the smaller ones, the older ones, the newer ones?
Well, definitely older ones, but I wouldn't, like, for size, I generally pick up the ones. What I see is the ones like Hot Wheels size. but I'm sure the bigger ones too could be professional ones, right? But generally, what I'm seeing is the Hot Wheel size. So
Yeah, Hot Wheels is probably more what I see. Although I do see the bigger ones. Um, and do you know? Have you ever looked on YouTube and see what these guys do? Like they race them and they
oh
sand
yeah,
off the tires to give it a certain amount of traction. And have you seen how crazy these people get?
yeah, it's definitely one of those hobbies where you can spend a lot of money really
You can
quick.
spend a lot of money and time, and yeah, it's crazy. But
It would be helpful if I cared about cars.
yeah, but they actually have like races. You know what I
Oh, I
mean?
believe it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, there's things you can do to make your car go faster, and they have huge tracks and they have like races and all this kind of stuff. So it's crazy. When you stop and think about it, some people just you wonder what they do with this stuff, and then when you find out, it's like, holy cow, that's crazy, right? So, like, it's
Yep.
like the toy soldiers nativity scenes. Like, some of these scenes are crazy, but you got
Mhm.
guys that are actually competing racing with slot cars,
Yep.
right?
If you
So,
go too fast, you spin it out. Have you ever done like where you sit down in like those go karts? Have you done that ever?
like, ridden a go kart and
Yeah, but you go
racing.
around a track inside
Yeah.
a
Oh yeah,
building.
for sure. Yeah.
I wasn't very good at it. I got passed a lot.
Oh my god. I'll, dude, I don't want to get on to the air and say here's another story of my life, but I'll tell you off the air, Carl. But I
Maybe you can tell it at the end of the show as a bonus.
because we went to Darien Lake, my cousin and I, and we
Yeah.
got on those cars, and man, it was
You didn't do bumper cars though, right?
it turned into bumper car.
Oh no.
Like these ones were like I don't even know if there was a governor. There was definitely a couple of cars on there that went faster than the rest.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I swear to God, no word of a lie, right? Like we kept going in line at Darien Lake, and the Americans were saying, let the Canadians up, because they wanted to race us because we were going crazy. We were smacking each other and everything.
Oh my god.
Like, if you do that in Canada, they kick you off the track.
Oh yeah. You
But
can't touch
there,
each
they
other.
were like, come on, let's go. Like, that was one of my funnest visits ever. The people that worked there, like, we were young. I was what, like 20? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They invited us to their party, like all the people that worked there. They had a place where they were camping, like they had a trailers,
Yeah.
and they invited us up there to come drinking with them and everything. It
Nice.
was my cousin. He went skinny dipping with some girl in the pool, and the cops came and they were gonna they threatened and put him in jail and everything.
Oh my god. Really?
Yeah. Oh my god, it was funny.
Okay.
Yeah, it was one of our best times. But I'll tell you more what happened after off the
Wow, what a tease for everyone, eh?
it went deeper, man. But it was a lot. The Americans were so much fun to party with.
Yeah.
They were, dude. You got to remember, this is like they had Warrant there. They had Rage Against the Machine. There was concerts there, right?
Mm.
Like it was a drink fest, and we weren't allowed to drink. I was under 21 because when we stopped and we had to get booze on the way up, like in I guess Buffalo. My cousins. So my cousin and I, he's a year younger than me, but we're I don't know 9 months apart. But his sister went with her husband, and there was a whole group of us. There had to have been 10, 15 of us, right? So they asked me and Billy to go with them, and they had to get our booze because we were too young to buy booze, right?
Yeah, it's such a weird concept, eh? Because we had ours is like 19 at the time or 18 or something. I can't remember.
Yeah, ours is 19. Yeah, well, at least Quebec might be a little different.
It was
But
18 for the longest time, so that's why people would go across the bridge because
yeah,
they could drink at 18. And let's be honest, in Hull they didn't. You
they
could be
didn't care.
14. Yeah, they didn't care.
I mean, closing in Ontario would have been like kind of last calls at 1, but down there
Yeah,
it was
3
like
a.m.
4 in
or
the morning or
yeah,
something.
yeah, it was a party area.
Yeah.
And then they changed the rules, and it's like it took away all that. But yeah,
Did they take away all that now?
well, I think it was like we became more. They let us have longer hours here.
Yeah.
It was a time period, right?
Yeah.
And I think people actually, anyways, that's another thing. But I think people drink less now, and I think there's less.
People definitely
partying.
drink less now.
Yeah.
Like completely. Like it's not even close, I don't think.
No.
But Oh yeah, there's some fun times at Darien Lake, man. I'll tell you about
Darien Lake. Okay.
that. But no, that's a great bolo. That's a good one. I wish I would have thought of that one. That's a good one.
Well, if you waited a little while, I'll forget and you can redo
Yeah,
it.
I can just Um. Okay. Well, my bolo of the week is like nothing now. Like I feel like I need to find a new one, but my bolo of the week is going to be uh musical spoons. Tapping
You know what's
spoons.
funny? You know what's funny? I actually do have one of those at the booth.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, it's my friends. Yeah. Well, we technically do. Yeah.
Oh gosh. No, I'm just going to kind of really downplay this boring bolo of the week, but it's actually something that I'm tapping into a little bit. No pun intended.
Right.
Tapping spoons. Um, and it's plated silver flatware,
Yeah.
and I get this stuff really cheap all the time.
Yeah.
Now, it's what kind of got me into this was I went and got the video game console and all the bells and whistles, and I was so happy and all this stuff. And then I don't know what was it worth, $100, $80, and Adam goes, "But you missed the spoons," and he went after me and he got the flatware, the whole dinner set, and he ended up getting like $200 for the whole thing.
Yeah.
So when I go to auctions, I usually pick these up for like $10, right? Like nobody wants them; they come in the wooden box and stuff.
That's what I was
But
talking about for the pick. Remember,
what's that?
I said she had a couple of those sets, and I said I had no interest in them because I can get them at auction for $5 or $10 for the whole
Oh,
set.
what did she want for them?
I didn't even. I didn't want it.
Right.
I
Okay.
just did like one. I knew she was going to want money for them,
Yeah.
and number two, I just didn't. I don't want that. It
Yeah.
takes up a lot of room. There weren't. They might have been complete, but there's like empty spots. You know, like it. I had no interest in that stuff. It
Yeah.
was just,
Well, there's a lot of it out there, so I'm really
yeah,
surprised that it's worth anything. And I
yeah,
think obviously some brands are going to be worth way more than other brands for sure.
yeah.
I got one here. It is a oh god, I'm gonna have to get my glasses on here. It is a Mc I think it comes McSee Company King's Plate, it's called, which I have 21 piece set here, spoons and forks and some knives. And I don't know, I'm probably gonna get about $50 for it, I think. You know, that's what I'm hoping. But
Yeah.
but some of it can actually go quite more. Like I said, Adam had the whole set, and I think he probably picked it up for $10 at the yard sale, and he sold it for 200. I have another couple sets downstairs that I haven't got to yet, but so it's kind of like a newer bolo for me. But I just kind of wanted to mention it because I'm actually kind of impressed at what they're selling for. Um, now, so probably a complete set's obviously going to give you more value than others. I went to a yard sale once, and the person wanted, I don't know, I think they wanted $30, and it was in a nice case,
Yeah.
all laid out, probably
Yeah.
complete, very
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'll give you 15. And I live in a small town because the punchline of this story is going to be part of living in a small town. And they're like, "Oh no, I know this is worth money." I said, "Listen, I'll offer you $15. I'll take the whole thing. If you're just trying to clear it out, I'll give you $15. No, that's too low, dude." I went and saw it, like so. About a week later, I went and saw this same set, and I know it's the same set, same sticker in it, like because I saw the whole box and everything. Right, the wood container was at the Restore.
They had donated it.
They would have ended up donating it.
Yeah.
So, and I think they wanted $30 at the Restore. So I was willing to pay 15, but um, so don't be afraid to negotiate those things because at the end of the day, they're probably going to end up donating it, and they probably are something that you'll see later in the day still at the yard sale because people aren't picking them up. So
No.
this was, I think theirs was like Oneida or something. Like it actually had
Yeah.
a decent name to it. I was actually tempted to go back and pick it up for $30, but I just It was just one of those days. I don't know. It was a
Didn't
warm. It was
feel like
probably
it.
11 or 12 in the afternoon. I just want to go home. But I offered him 15 anyway. But I don't know how long these are going to set. So stay tuned for follow ups on this. But I'm going to call it a Bolo of the week. I'm impressed at some of the values these things are getting.
So I used to look all the time, and I did sell silver plated cutlery for really good money, right?
Okay.
Like it set, like 6 spoons for like 25-30 bucks,
Okay.
like of small spoons, right?
Yep.
And I haven't in a long time, because there's a couple of things, like from my experience, is that there's certain names that you want to look for, which I've forgotten,
Yeah.
and patterns that you want to look for that I've forgotten. So I might have a cheat sheet somewhere on this, because I have talked about it, not on this show, but on Two Dogs Digs or other places, that I have done well with silver plate. But it does require you to look closely at a lot of valueless stuff, and a lot of resellers won't even look at the stuff.
Right. Like
But
me at one point. Yeah.
yeah. But at the same time, I wouldn't pick up obviously anything. I would really, like, for me, I would pick up, if I was going to do it again, which I'm saying I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I would really want to know which brands actually are worth checking, and try and know which styles are, because you could have a good brand like Wanada, right? And it has 10 different styles, and only one of them actually sells for anything decently.
Yeah.
But if you're willing to put that work in, you can find that stuff, the valuable and the valueless, right, is there.
Yeah.
But it does require some work and some good eyes.
Well, I'm very thankful for learning the booth first, because it really helps me out. But I can lot like 6 to 10 spoons up and probably get $10 just for those spoons at the booth.
Yeah.
Regardless of what they are. I think if I was to look at it for anything in particular, obviously it all depends on price. But I think condition, like if they're really worn, or like maybe even super tarnished, I'd kind of have a little bit of a leniency to leave them. But I mean, like the ones I got here are very shiny. They almost look sterling like.
Yeah.
Which I guess is because they're plated, but they're in very good condition. You know what I mean? So I think I'll do okay on these ones. Again, the patterns seem to be okay, based on values. But again, I could get them into the booth and probably make, I'll still be making profit. But I think those are the things I would look out for. Not that I'm knowledgeable on that. It's just I kind of pertain that to everything. So I'm going to put it to these two. If there's lots of wear, lots of scratches or dents or bended spoon, like bended.
Oh,
I would just.
Well, it's funny for bending. That was a trick I was taught, is that if you're not sure if something's sterling or not, try bending it. If you can't bend it,
soft metal and it would bend easier.
No, it's the opposite. If it's silver plated, you can't bend it. But if it is sterling, it's easier to bend, especially for things like teaspoons and stuff like that.
No, I meant sterling would be the softer metal.
Oh, right. Yes. Yeah. Sorry, I misunderstood. You also have to watch out, is like there's something called International Silver, which isn't silver. That's the name of the company. And there's also, if you're looking for silver, I mean, in cutlery, and there's also fake marks on them. They're not fake, like they won't show a lion and all that, but it'll be like ones that kind of look like maker's marks.
Oh.
And they're just BS.
Yeah.
Right. It was trying to, like, they're old because they're trying to make it look like they weren't trying to trick the buyer who originally bought the set. It was trying to make the silver plated stuff look more valuable, like, higher end.
Okay.
So I've been tricked by that too, because you get it home and it's like, what the hell is this? Where's, the joke I said, if there's a lion on it, I better be buying it.
Right.
Right. But yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's a good one. Like I made good money off of that stuff, right?
Yeah.
It's just that it requires, like, my memory isn't the best anyways, and then it's a lot of work, and occasionally you find stuff, but I still look at the spoons. Actually, other thrifters make fun of me for looking through that stuff, but I have found like 1900 1850s sterling serving spoons on the wall
Yeah.
before. So
You know what? I'll even kind of throw this into the Bolo mix. Is it doesn't even have to be silver plate. Like it could just be brand name flatware.
stainless can have value. Like I forget the name of it. Was it Japanese? Maybe it was a Japanese brand. But yeah, there is good stuff out if you're willing to take the time.
Yeah.
I've seen on eBay where someone specializes in all that stuff.
I think there's a Scandinavian company
Yep.
too that does
Yep.
really well.
Yep.
Um
Yep.
So yeah, some of that stuff can do really well. And it doesn't necessarily have to be fancy kind of detail. It can be very
I know. The plainest, boringest thing you've ever seen.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Yeah, almost like teak kind of designs or whatever. You know what I mean? Some of the furniture is so simple, but yet it's like crazy.
It is crazy,
But yeah, so it's a little bolo that I've kind of, or I should say niche, that I'm kind of tapping into right now. And I've had these sitting around for a long time because it was about a year or so ago that Adam ended up buying this that I left behind. And sure, he's got to poke me in the ribs a little bit about it. So I'm like, okay, now I'm going to buy all the spoons I can find, right? So, but the flatware I sold, I did sell that probably 6 months or 8 months ago. It was a complete set, and they were all new. They were still in their little plastic sleeves, and I did pretty good with that. Like compared, like I don't know, maybe I put 60, $80. But I probably had like $2 into it or nothing into it at a yard sale, or
I have a full Lennox set on the shelf over there, which like same thing. It's still in the plastic. Originally it was like $300 and something for the set, right? I was planning on asking $50, maybe $60.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing. I just haven't done it yet.
Well, you never know. You might look it up and find it crazy. It might be $500 now.
Yeah, I think I did look it up. It's just they want a lot of money when they sold it, originally from the Bay or whatever.
Yeah.
The thing with tarnish I found is that, so I got one of those silver cleaning cloths.
Yep.
And those can work well, but if something's really tarnished, I find you can't untarnish it for some reason. But a little bit of tarnish might come off, and it'll get nice and shiny again. But like a lot of tarnish just never comes off.
There is people on YouTube that have silver plated ways of cleaning it, and one's has to do with, I think you get like a glass pan and you put aluminum foil on it, then you put baking soda in it, and then some water. I don't know if there's anything else to it, but you let it soak.
You put electrodes in it too, like literally electrodes. I think so.
There is something that, like, I wouldn't want anybody to get electrocuted and not be able to watch our show anymore. So I don't know if I'd put electrodes in it right away without like supervision.
I've done it with Roman coins.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah. So like with Roman coins, sometimes they get really encrusted and you can't see any details. So you can use electrodes to transfer or loosen up some of that stuff. I have done it. It was scary, but it was fine. I lived. I did put my fingers in it though, when it was like plugged in. I wouldn't recommend that. But yeah.
Did you when you were testing your slot cards, did you put it on your tongue, the 9-volt battery?
Yeah, just a little fun.
Is it working?
Yeah, is this one dead or not? What I'm scared of is like I had some batteries in my pocket. Have you ever like had a battery warm up?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, because if you have your keys or something and like a 9-volt, it's easy to do. You could heat up that 9-volt by making the connections between the two things and then heating up in your pocket. So you have to be a little careful. Not like, just don't be an idiot.
Things could happen.
It's a dangerous world we live in.
Yeah.
9 volts.
Well, anyway, that's the bowl of the week.
Excellent. That one was fun.
Yeah. Now what time is it, Carl?
It's time for comments of the week.
Comments of the week. All right. Well, do we go to Spotify first like usual?
As tradition.
Okay. So we're here on Spotify, and we got 2 comments this week. Tina Mac, Tina Mac, Tina Mac. Carl, why did the lady chase you at the yard sale?
Oh
Well,
yeah, you brought it up a couple times. I'm curious. Still loving the bolos. Thanks. Yeah. So it was a joke because like I always said I hate garage sales, but I'm probably okay with garage sales now, to be honest, because like it's nothing compared to like private picks and all the other stuff I've done since. Anyways, it was nearby too. It was like a block away,
yeah,
and I bought. There's a camera. I call it, like, do you want to make a movie camera? Because it has like a little handle on the side that you turn. Anyways, and they had one of those, and they wanted $10, and I said, okay, I'll pay the $10, and it's worth on eBay like $60 or something. But if it works, and it wasn't the best condition and all that stuff, right? Like I probably wouldn't have paid much more because the demand for these aren't that high. So I get to, and so I bought it from the lady there, and I get to my car, and all of a sudden it's like, come back, you give that back. And her sister, who was running the garage sale, had gone in for a second, came out and was like, those go for $60 to $80 on eBay. You can't get that for $10. Give it back. And I was like,
wow,
fine, here, like, take your stupid camera. I hardly want anyways.
yeah,
And I went back to the lady who sold me, and the poor lady, she was shaking. She was so scared.
yeah,
And to give me back the money, I felt bad for the sister. It's like, yeah. So I did get chased from getting too good a deal, quote unquote, from a garage sale. And then it became a running joke for a while because like I would already been complaining about garage sales,
yeah,
and I already had 2 incidents, and that was one of them at that point. So
yeah. And you know what? I guarantee you that is still in their closet,
oh
or
yeah,
they threw it out.
no
You
one
know?
of that. It's just
Yeah,
like that, just like this stainless steel, the cutlery you're talking about.
yeah,
They can want what they want,
yeah,
but you're not going to get a garage sale person like, you
yeah.
know.
You're lucky to
Anyway,
get $5-10 for that at a yard sale.
yeah. So that was fun.
She also, what's the niche you wish you knew more about? Me, it's jewelry. I stay away from it. Any basic tips? Uh, she stays away from jewelry, but she wish you knew more. Well, the basic tip is if you wish you knew more about it, buy a bunch of it cheap at yard sales or estate sales. If you can get a bag of it or something, that's how I learned a little bit about things. Is just you know willing to take a little bit of a risk. Um, But is there a niche for you, first of all, Carl, that you wish you knew more about?
Actually, it's for me. It's jewelry too.
Yeah,
So I was offered some at the private pick, but she wanted money for it, and it's like I need to do the same thing. I need sometimes you have to buy something. You just have to be careful that you don't buy it and just throw it in a box for the next 20 years. But yeah, jewelry is one of those things that's such a wide variety. Like I know if there's a name on the back, and I know there's some basic rules you can at least have, like the type of clip on the back and stuff. But honestly, jewelry would be one of mine, and watches. I did buy some watches from her actually, but at the private pick, but I really don't think there's anything special in there. Yeah, for me, it'd be jewelry as well. Actually,
yeah. Well, I would have a couple. Um, like, I mean, I think we all have tons of stuff, but I would say jewelry is definitely one of them. But how I do it, um, is I know some key names like Sherman, Keys, Trafari, stuff like that. I know some key names for
mm-hmm.
costume jewelry. If there's gold and like if it's gold and sterling and they want nothing for this stuff because they don't realize there's gold and sterling there, that's a no brainer. And you can always look up maker marks later on. Um, but what also I've done in the past too is just take like unbranded jewelry or whatever and put them in jewelry jars and sell them like that out of the booth.
Mm-hmm.
You know, um, so I'll still pick it up if I can get it cheap enough. But I'm sure there's lots I'm missing because it's too expensive for my knowledge, limited knowledge.
Yeah,
But I would also add like clothing. I wish I knew more brand names in clothing because I see lots of clothing and I'm kind of limited to picking up like, certain kind of maybe like jackets with certain like logos on them, like racing or something, you know. So I'm kind of limited to that, or I'll limit myself to, uh, you know, stuff from like really 60s and 70s kind of funky stuff. But outside of that, like maybe I know Patagonia, but I guarantee you I pass up Patagonia because I unless I look at the tag, I don't know what it is. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so I kind of wish I knew clothing better because I think I think there's a lot of money to be in clothing and shoes and stuff like that, but
Mhm.
I don't know my brand names. You know, I just don't.
For jewelry, one thing I learned the opposite is I'll pretty well stay away from cufflinks now.
Yes, unless they're
I
stripped
find
in gold and
yeah,
scrap. Yeah.
there's pretty well zero demand for any of that.
Well, there's
For
so
cufflinks.
much of them out there.
It was like
Yeah.
you'll see cufflinks all over the place.
Yeah.
And yeah, maybe some might be sterling on occasion, but even then it's only going to be, $10 worth of sterling
Yeah.
because they're so small.
Yeah.
So yeah, I stay away from cufflinks now.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I would say those are probably the two that I'd like to know a little bit more about for sure.
Yeah, maybe sometime we'll talk about jewelry because it's like it is one of those things I feel I should know about a bit more. Like at some of the auctions I go to, there's like lots of jewelry experts there. And so I assume they know what the hell they're doing. And there's always competition. Actually, that's usually the most expensive stuff that goes. Actually, is jewelry. You had two types of jewelry people, to be honest. Like, uh, there's the people going after the big lots of cosmetic stuff,
Yeah.
right? And then there's the people going after like gold and diamonds.
Yeah.
And it's funny. It's not the same type of people going after those things. It's different niches and different buyer types. But so I don't even touch it at the auctions because like I figure they all know what they're doing. Same with coins. There's a lot of coin people I find too. I just don't touch it. Yeah. Well, thank you, Tina. So
Yeah.
the next one's from Adam Wakefield. Here's a random question for fun. If you had an unlimited supply of only 3 things you could only sell on eBay, what would they be? The catch is you can only list for $40 each tops.
So you have 3 categories of items. Is that what unlimited supply of only 3 like different types of items I'm taking it?
Yeah, 3 things. So
Okay.
and you can only list for $40 each tops. Unlimited supply. Like that's 3 things. Like for me, it's anything.
I know one thing for sure.
Yeah. Okay, you start.
Toy soldiers.
Toy soldiers. Yeah.
And it would either be Britain's or King and Country. I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say toy soldiers across the board. But for $40, they're going to sell for sure. But there's lots in the $100 to $300 range as well. So, but I would say that's one of mine. You got one, Carl?
For me, definitely be some type of toy. Because like if it's 3 things I have to keep selling, I want something I don't have to test.
Yeah.
It's not missing parts, and usually doesn't need cleaning. So, and $40 tops would be a toy.
Yeah.
I know that's kind of general, but like there's so many that check that box. Like GI Joes, right? They sell for like 10 to $50 to who knows what, right? So actually, it's funny that this weekend a major GI Joe expert actually was at the market. It was kind of fun. It was kind of fun.
So he's American though, Carl. So can we up that to about $60? Because I'd like to push it to 100, and I could come up with $40 each is kind of like
We're talking about bread and butter stuff, right? He's talking about like I would want unlimited gold rings each selling for $1,000. Yeah, okay, but
no, but I mean, if you put it for $100, you know what I mean. Like toy soldiers to me at $40 are the cheaper ones. You know what I mean. And I got lots of the higher end ones that I can get $100 for.
Yeah.
Right. So if I say toy soldiers, there's a lot there that's going to be worth $100. But $40 each tops. I guess I'd have to say clothing for one.
I don't like clothing because it takes me too long to list and measure and everything, and the return rate for 40 that wouldn't be one of mine. Well, one of
Well,
my
I
one of my
wouldn't. I wouldn't just blanket it to all clothing though. I'd
right.
still be cherry picking mine. But again, it's the $40. Like, there's going to be a lot of stuff that I pick up now. I'm picking it up because I know it's worth like $100 or more. You know what I mean?
Well,
So it's
yeah, and
kind of,
that's why he said 40 because like he's talking about the bread and butter stuff, right? He's not talking about the.
I don't
Hey,
know.
don't get me wrong. I love finding the $200 stuff, but that's not the question.
But I don't, because I try to stay away from things that are under $30. So if you, dude, just look at the stuff I've sold. Most of that stuff is going to be over like closer to $100,
Yeah, that's true.
right?
Yeah.
So $40, I think I'd just go back to work.
Oh,
Go
no.
back to the factory.
It depends. Like if it's something new in box, I will happily sell something for $40.
Well, okay. Insoles for shoes.
Perfect. I was going to suggest that. Yep.
Yeah, but I
No
don't. I
work.
don't.
You put in
I
a
wouldn't
bubble
want to
boiler.
just sole in. I just wouldn't want to sell insoles for shoes. I'd be bored. Package those. I guess money's money. What's the difference, right? So
Yeah, you spend that $40 on something else that actually you enjoy.
yeah.
Like Viewmasters are pretty good, and they are in that range, and they're easy for me to ship and pack. So maybe Viewmasters, but like the thing is, for $40 each tops, I also have a minimum of what I would enjoy doing. I don't want to sell Viewmaster for $5 either, right? So if it's $20, I don't mind because it takes me 5 seconds to send that off. So, postcards can be good too because I have a way of scanning them quickly.
Yeah,
They can
but
be worth that kind of money, and they're easier to ship, and they can be worth that kind of money too. So and they don't take up any room in your inventory.
I just don't think I would be able to. And that's hey, each their own. I'm not putting down anybody that does it, but I don't think I could do just postcards. I could not be Popeye's postcard.
No.
Now, I would get bored of that so quick. I wouldn't like even Toy Soul. Like I think maybe I'm just stuck on one thing because it's so boring just thinking of one thing, one item.
Well, that's why we're not niched down, right?
Yeah. Um, just looking quickly through the stuff here, but um, what's your last one, Carl?
I don't know. I that's enough, I think.
Well, he asked for three.
Okay. What did I say? I said postcards. I said Viewmaster, and I said toys. So that's.
Okay.
Oh, I said GI Joes. So that's 3.
I guess I don't know. I was could it be catalogs? But then I'm trying to get ones that are $60 to $100 more. So, that's a tough one. Honestly, I'm going to say that's a tough one. I think I'd have to say toy soldiers for sure. Insoles because I'm selling those, and I guess and clothing.
See,
I say clothing loosely because I don't know enough about clothing, to be honest with you. It's something I'm trying to learn. I don't think I do video games because I think the only ones that really sell on video games are 40 and up.
mm-hmm.
It's almost like if you got an expensive video game, it's going to sell quicker than a $10 video game.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
Oh, I have these cheap ones at the store, like for $5 of all these garbage titles.
Yeah.
I've only sold 2. And they're only $5.
Yeah.
So even having $1, I'm gonna lot them up and put them for $20 and just say get rid of these things. But no, I agree. But the other part of the question is unlimited supply. So that makes a big difference too, right? Like you don't have to source it. You just could easily just keep buying over and over and over again and flipping it out for $40, right? It's like then it becomes more like a job, right? Which is why I can see a bit of resistance on Scotty's face. He's leaning back, his arms are crossed, he's not even looking at the screen. He's like, I don't like this question.
Well, I'm honestly like, to me that kind of equates to something new, and that's out of my knowledge range because I don't deal with new things. I think the insoles are new, but that's because I found a lucky. I struck it lucky on a yard
Right.
sale. I think clothing could be kind of endless. Toy soldiers seem endless, but they are going to come to an end at some point.
you
Um,
know, you know,
because they're not new; they're retired. They're kind of vintage.
like in terms of
So
work, like the
maybe
nice
cameras. Would cameras be something?
no, because I not even for when they sell for $40, I don't even pick them up
Yeah, that's
usually
right.
because
That's
it's
right.
not worth the time, right?
That's
It's
right.
like
That's what
they
makes it hard. Yeah.
right. So like that's why like if you encounter new stuff, then hell yeah. Like if something goes in a bubble mailer and it's new, you don't have to test it. You just have to take one picture and there's multiple quantities. Like that's the dream,
Yeah, but
right?
it has to
Like,
sell.
and it sells. Yeah, that's the dream, right? Because it's like you know we've had those. Like I had the stupid scientific filter paper. I must have made a few thousand off that lot, you
Yeah.
know. And it was like it was exactly thrilling stuff of selling sealed packages of filter paper, right?
Yeah.
But it made me a lot of money and it was no work because I just put up a picture, put how many lots I had, put in a bubble mailer or maybe a box if they bought a lot. It, in terms of like, amount of work in that, it was a great return, but it wasn't exactly woohoo filter
Yeah.
paper, it didn't get the engine going, but I listed all because it was easy and, I didn't mind the money. So yeah, thank you, Adam. That was that was a fun one. For me at least. Scott looks a little
Yeah, I'm a little
turned.
bit like my brain kind of hurt right now.
Thank you,
But
Adam.
well, thanks Tina Mack and thanks Adam Wakefield for those comments. So we're moving on now, Carl.
Yep.
We're going to jump over to
YouTube. So Scott and I had a discussion before the show. There's been a lot of comments about their comments disappearing. So we tried to change it so there's zero moderation on the channel. So all you scammers out there, this is your opportunity to put scam stuff on our comment.
yeah, it was like, I guess at a basic level. I
Yeah.
didn't know about this switch, so hopefully it works. Carl, you're the one that
Yeah, I
told
don't
me.
know. We don't know if it's going to fix it, but
Well, hopefully it does. Did Don actually email you the question?
Nope.
What? I thought she was going to do that.
Unless you send it to Facebook. I haven't been on Facebook for a little while because it's full of garbage now.
Well, she's saying here that her comment went into the ether again.
Yeah, no.
That sucks.
Well, thanks, Don.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was a great comment.
She gonna like copy and then paste it and all this stuff? Like,
she should know better by now. Lesson learned.
All right, what's next, Carl?
Doing it wrong. Dang, seeing how this went, it looks like I need more random shower thoughts. I have no idea what you're talking about. I can't remember last week.
Well, that's the topic of the show. He had a shower thought about death and
right, yes,
your stuff after. So that's what the show was.
Of course,
the show was basically like the thumbnail and the topic and the title was all based around his comment. So,
and like that house you went to look at, it was death.
Yeah, like it was kind of dreary actually. Yeah,
the guy's whole life summed up to like a couple $100.
Well, there was a lot of dusty boxes and garbage, and yeah, that's it. Wow. Now I'm depressed.
Well, you're kind of depressed about not finding better stuff, really.
Wow, that's more of a, like what do you call that? What do you call that? Materialistic depression. This is like actual like life learning depression or something.
Wow, I didn't know you're so affected by someone's whose name you don't even know.
Yeah, well,
your big heart, Scott.
I have a big caring heart, Carl.
Yeah.
Some of us can just turn it on and off. I can't.
Wow. Okay. So the next one, doing it wrong. When you have a little bit, sorry. Once you have a little bit of experience, there's no reason for FOMO.
What's FOMO?
Fear of missing out.
Oh.
Valuable stuff to resell is nearly infinite. You can always find more. If you miss out one day, there will always be another opportunity around the corner.
Truer words have not been spoken, but there's a big but. I don't want to miss out on it. It's that one item, right?
The fear of missing out, yeah.
The fear of missing out. It's funny because Steph's like, you don't need any more stuff. And I said, but it's yard sales, like Saturday. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go look for that one item or two items that, you'll never see again, right? I don't need, and then I'll fill the truck up, come home. She's like, what are you doing? You ever get that, Carl?
Yeah. Well, she said, don't go buy someone's junk. But the thing is, by the time I get home, Amy's still in bed, so she doesn't. I can sneak stuff in if I'm lucky.
Oh, if only they listen to this channel.
But they don't. No problem.
Okay, so we'll go on, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But that is true words have not been spoken there for sure. Carverman 613. I enjoy finding salesman samples, and we talked about the stoves and different salesman samples. The tent was like where that started. That was the Bolo last week. Sold a Lane cedar chest, which is made to scale of original. Basically, looks like a wooden keepsake box. That's interesting. There's probably a lot of things out there that were salesman samples, and we're going to end up missing that because we think they're toys.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That kind of thing. So that's an interesting point. Sold for $36.99. I see the cast iron stoves in the wild, but they're usually missing pieces, and that's 100% true. There's they come apart, so a lot of times they're missing the chimney part of it, or they're missing the cast iron covers that go over the holes where you would put your kettles and stuff. Could be missing a door. But if you can get them cheap enough, sometimes they're worth collecting for the parts. Although technically they're going to all be a little bit different. But if you see one with a lot of pots and different things, like you can collect those and kind of put those all together. And they're all cast iron. I would say kind of digressing a little bit from this, but if you're going to look for stuff that, especially the cast iron stoves, there's a lot of repops. There's a lot of things that are made to look like those things, and they're not worth the value that you think they are. They may be worth $15-$20. They still look good. They still have decorativeness, but they're not going to be your $65, $100 or whatever. Now, I find, and I could be a little bit wrong on this, but just my basic knowledge, that the cast iron salesman sample stoves tend to be more common than most salesman sample stuff. But if you get like a nice car from the 50s or 60s that would have been in a dealer, like a salesman sample at a dealer, or I guess they're still salesman samples, but maybe they're given as a gift to someone, like at a dealership. Like those kind of things can actually bring in some very good value because they're very limited in how many's out there, right? They weren't mass produced for the public. They were specialty. So anyway, Carl.
Next one from Nova Scotia Celt, Randy. Sorry about the multiple comments. Just worried about the YouTube gremlins eating my comments. Yeah, you're not the only one worried about that.
Yeah.
Can't wait until next week's show to hear about Carl's private pick. He will no longer be a reseller version. Yeah. It's like most first experiences. It's like the anticipation was better than the result.
Well, but you learned a little bit. You got your feet wet. Now the next one's going to be a home run.
Exactly. Boy, the show took a serious turn. There's one thing I wish I had done. Should have kissed Susan Scott when I was 12. Oh, yeah, we all have one of those.
Yeah.
Oh, what was her name? I remember her last name was Prindle. I had one of those, too.
And we also have ones that we probably shouldn't have.
Yeah, there's those, too. Yeah. Okay. regarding the lanterns, make sure when listing as parts or repair, you choose that actual category rather than used. If you choose used, it doesn't matter what's in the title or description. You may open and return.
Huh.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if they fixed those categories, but sometimes they don't even allow you to do parts or repairs for categories that should have parts and repairs.
Yeah.
That's extremely annoying. And that has caught me because they said, well, you should have put in parts and repairs. It's like that option wasn't even available. Right.
Yeah.
So, but yes, you're right. Yeah, you should be careful because people will try to say, well, you said used, even though you put in like it doesn't work. And at some point it's on you if you don't pick the right category.
I pretty much have parts and repair in the title and in the where it says pre-owned and all that kind of stuff, or I'll put it in the description. So not that makes a difference, but it's usually in 3 different spots for me. I don't know. What do you do, Carl?
Yeah, if it's for parts, the first word I have in the title is for parts in capital letters.
Yeah.
For the category like new used parts, I definitely pick the parts. And then I had the same thing in the description for parts.
Yeah.
So, they had no excuse. Like just like you, I have it in 3 places. In the title too, because I don't want anyone bothering to click on the link even if they don't want parts. Next one from Randy as well. Hi, Scott and Carl. Washing or cleaning isn't always an option. I just listed Plastic Cuts 1988, put up by Kmart and Coke, featuring WWF wrestlers. It's old school. It's WWF.
Yeah.
Description says uncleaned. I was concerned about washing away Hulk Hogan, Macho Man, and especially the lovely Elizabeth. Yeah. I like that. I like that too, Randy. Like I will do some basic cleaning, but I'm not going to scrub her down, right? Because you could take off bits, and like you said, sometimes people know how to clean this stuff that we don't.
Yeah. Elizabeth. Wow. Still stuck on her. I sold an Elizabeth doll out of the booth, and I think I got close to $100 on her. 60 to 85 for sure, in that range. New in the box. Wow, look who's here.
The famous Harry Humstone.
Yeah, honorary Canadian. You guys definitely should be doing lives in person.
That's not happening.
Yeah. Oh my God, that would be a 14-hour show.
Yeah, no, we don't do lives. Like, we like you. Well, you answer yourself here. So what do you say?
Yeah, well, I replied to him. It would be a very long show, buddy. I take a lot. I take a lot out during the editing process because Carl talks way too much.
Yeah, sorry, everyone. Yeah, that's a different show, right? Like, my issue is if we did the visual stuff, then it would be different because then we'd be showing stuff. And if you're like listening on Spotify, or a lot of people don't want the audio, then it changes the show. Like I know that if we did visual, we get a lot more views and subs than just audio, but I don't care. Right? Like that's fine, right? That's a different kind of formatting. This is supposed to be audio only. If we did visual, then it would change the dynamics of the show. Plus we'd have to actually, look presentable.
Yeah.
That ain't happening.
All right. Well, good to see Harry.
Wow, Scott's barely awake.
Holy cripes, that was a yawn and a half.
Yeah.
No, good to see Harry. I haven't. I miss the people on the Sunday lives. I used to do that, but you come on there too, Carl. You're always in the chats for sure, but most of the time you're on as a guest. But Adam and stuff like I miss the whole community there, but we'll probably maybe do a pop on or something. But for the most part, like this is the new format, is doing the pre-records, and we can edit a lot of the crap out, and it is what it is.
Yeah, it's a different show, but that if you want to watch that show, like there's lots out there for that stuff, and like Sunday nights, like I couldn't imagine doing that every Sunday night. Like that would be hard.
It's tough.
Like we said before, like at least with this, we can move it around during the week if we have to. When I come back from the Sundays, I'm totally drained.
Yeah.
Like, no way I could do a Sunday show anymore, even if as a guest, because I'm just wiped. So, and Adam's gone to different interests, right? So there's that too.
Yep. So anyway, that's about it. Carl, I can't think of too much more. What about yourself? Anything to conclude?
No, I don't think so. Thank you. It was still 2.5 hours long.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I'll cut it down. It'll probably it'll still be over 2 hours, but
yeah.
I had to cut a big chunk out last week, I think it was, or the week before. I think it was last week. I just cut a big chunk out. Like it was kind of repetitive stuff.
Yeah.
But we went on for over 3 hours for sure.
Oh my God.
But it might have been the week before, but anyway, one of them. I had to cut a big segment out. I don't think we have that here. But we'll never know. But as far as you and I talking right now, we're at 2.5 hours for sure.
Perfect.
Claire, just the way Randy likes them.
You better be listening to the very end.
Yeah.
We need to put it like a test question for him at the end to make sure he actually is listening.
Keyword hot dog.
Yeah, we want to. Yeah, the comment for next week, Randy. No one else, only Randy. We want to see
anybody, dude.
Well, no, because then he can cheat.
Oh, okay.
Right, it has to be Randy, right?
Yeah.
So we want to see the word hot dog in the comments, Randy. Yeah. Otherwise, you're in trouble.
That's hilarious. All right. So there we are.
Perfect.
All right. That's it. I guess I already asked you anything else. Anything going on this weekend? Anything for the people to look forward to?
Nope.
Well, you had a private pick last time. What do you got going on this?
Oh, yeah. Well, that was last week. Yeah. This week, I need to deal with these damn wrinkle dogs. Like, I think they're conspiring against me.
Yeah, they're staring at you.
Oh, they're everywhere. They're everywhere. Yeah. Anyway.
All right. Yeah, for me, I'm just I'm getting a bunch of stuff out of here. Like I'm really working on getting stuff cleared out. So we got yard sales probably in a couple months. I got some big auctions coming up at the end of this month and into April. So now's the time to do it. But
yeah,
that's about it.
Yeah. And for me, it's building at the booth, figuring out. I need to go through and see what actually sells. I have enough records now. Like I record everything that sells. So I want to actually go through and see what actually is selling.
Yeah.
Because you forget, right? And then it's like, okay. Like I was saying, like I haven't sold one Viewmaster in 5 months. So I need to switch that up. Either move where it is or lot them up or whatever. Like that sort of thing. Like I'm at the point now where I can have time to actually think about things rather than like the basics of like having the booth, having the inventory in and all that. So now I can actually analyze things, which is kind of where
it sounds like you're getting more into the groove of it for sure, especially with the bigger booth. It's a game changer.
Oh yeah, I like action, right? Like sitting there for hours with nothing going on.
Yeah,
that's not good. But now there's action, so that's good.
Perfect. Good. All right, we're here every Friday, Spotify and YouTube, audio only. And until next week, have a good week, everyone. We'll see you next week. See you next week, Carl.
Yep. Bye, everyone.